Okay, so nakikita naman po ba yung ating presentation? Okay. Thank you, Sir Alex. Sige. So let us start by again going back to our the topic for this morning, which is personality assessment and its impact on personal development. But before that, let us first look into the meaning or the definition of what personality assessment is and what are the different types of psychological testing. Okay? So, una, titingnan natin yung outline of our discussion, which is number one, understanding personality assessment and its impact on our personal development and its application on personal development. Pero yung uunahin natin pong pag-uusapan is understanding personality assessment. So, pag sinabi pa natin personality assessment, is it the same with the other assessments that we use under the psychological testing? Or pag sinabi ba nating personality assessment, pareho lang ba siya? Or is it similar with psychological testing? So in this discussion po, we will find out. Okay? So first, we will look into the different types of psychological tests. Because psychological test is composed of different types of tests being administered to the different constructs in an individual. Okay? So parang review na rin ito sa ating mga psychology students. And this is, however, a refresher course. Parang ako din, para nung no, I am reading about this topic and I am researching about the topic, parang masaya. Parang natuwa ako dahil nagkaroon ako ng time again to go back to the following psychological tests that we had. And ang saya dahil, di ba, kapag nagko-conduct tayo ng mga psychological tests way back in college, para naandun tayo sa paranoia that everything that we see or every questions that are being asked of, parang pakiramdam natin lahat yun tayo. Okay? So, this is somehow like parang quiz. So, magbibigay ako ng definition and you will guess, you may open your mic or you may chat or you may put your answers in the chat box. Sir Dan, please help me if meron naglagay ng answer doon kasi hindi ko mabasa. So this type of test aims to measure an individual's potential to use mental processes in problem solving and in acquiring new knowledge. And this assess abilities in thinking, reasoning, perception, and memory. Ano kayang test ito under the psychological testing? Anyone? What do you think is the type of this? What do you think is this psychological test? Or what type of psychological test this one is? Anyone would like to answer? You may open your mic or you may put your answers in the chat box.
IQ test.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Tama naman, but similar to the IQ test, ano kaya po sa tingin ninyo yun? Any answers? Any other answers similar to the IQ test that was given to us? Okay? Any more answers? Okay. For a while lang po. Okay, so we have answers. Cognitive assessments, so very good. Intelligence test, IQ test, achievement test, IQ test. Okay, so our answer is okay. It is cognitive test. So yung lahat po kayo ay tama. So cognitive test, this one aims to measure our potential in terms of our mental capacities. So hindi naman natin dito mini-measure really the type of intelligence that we have. But hindi natin, kumbaga parang sine-single out yung intelligence or our capacity to reach or to have mm, meaningful uh, understanding of things. But here, tinitingnan natin dito sa cognitive test, the individual's capacity to solve problems. Example, we are using the cognitive test in ways. Dito natin tinitingnan how the individual is able to use his cognitive thinking skills in solving a problem or in making decisions at hand. Yung mga issues, yung mga concerns, yung mga problems, yung mga challenges, how does he uses his cognitive capacities to address those? Okay? So, example, we have ito yung mga most used but madami tayong mga types of cognitive tests that is available online or is also available available for purchase. Pero kasi alam natin na medyo mahal ang mga personality test. But when we use personality tests that are purchased, we are very sure na itong mga test na ito ay talagang dumaan sa matinding pagsusuri. Kaya kapag ginamit natin, talagang alam natin na ang mga results nila ay highly reliable and highly accurate. So, we have two tests. Ito yung mga ginagamit or parang frequently used in the industrial organizational setting. Okay, so we have the Wonderlic personal test. It measures the ability to understand instructions, solve job-related problems, and propose ideas that can be applied to new work situations. Also, dito, tinitingnan rin natin ang ability ng isang individual to really adapt to his or her environment or or with everyone that is around him or her. Kasi minsan the ability of an individual to cope also has something to do with his or her cognitive abilities, also partnered with his or her emotional stability or emotional resilience. Okay? And then we have the OT self-administering tests of mental ability. Meron din tayong ginagamit for students, adolescents, may mga age brackets and age limits kasi ang Otis Lennon test. So, dito tinitingnan natin or this one is being administered to screening applicants for jobs such as office clerks, assembly line workers, and yung mga first line supervisors. So, dito we will have a practice test. You may go to this website and we will answer this test all together kung okay lang. Para ma-feel lang natin or we will feel the parang kunyari na andun tayo sa screening process or we are about to, for students, we are about to get tested. So, mas maganda if we will somehow experience yung para na andun tayo nag-take ng test. So, this is the website that you will go into to know what type or nasaan level ang ating cognitive abilities. Okay, so I will also take this test with you. So, wait. So doon sa ayan, titingnan natin, you take the practice test. Okay? and how on the result of okay. Okay. So we have 27 questions. So the number one is meron siyang time limit. So we have to answer as fast as we can. So example, how many of the 5 pairs of items listed below are exact duplicates? Okay. Right. And then you click next. Okay, which of the following is the opposite of the word dark? A. Tom greeted Sally. Sally greeted Brad. Tom did not greet Brad. Please choose the conclusion. Example does not follow. Fiona bought 50 vinyl records in a flash sale. Then, okay, example. Okay, which figure does not belong? Okay, okay, so medyo bibilisan ko lang ha, kasi para maabot natin yung time limit. So, may mga abstract question. One, two, three. Okay. So, so how many of you are taking the test also? Choose a pair that is analog house roof, tree, branch. Example. Mhm. Mhm. Tama. So, di ba, parang pag na-feel mo yung, when you are taking the test, you have to really clear your mind para hindi ma-influence yung test, yung current emotional state mo. Okay? So, example, ganyan. Para lang makita natin, no, what does it feel like to take the test? So, example, okay, ayan. So, at least now we know na ang Wonderlic questionnaires pala are a mixture or is both may mga abstract questions, merong questions about logical reasoning, may mga questions about comprehension. So, alam natin na yun na yung content ng abstract, I mean ng Wonderlic practice or Wonderlic IQ test, cognitive test. So, ang aking result ay your score. Okay, so dito makikita natin yung mga equivalent or percentage ng mga bawat category. So for example, in the abstract reasoning analogy, so 0 ako, mali yung sagot ko. Okay, abstract reasoning, common features, accuracy, numerical reasoning, lowest value, the word problem. So dito makikita mo what are your weaknesses and the things you have to improve on based dito sa result ng practice test. So ayan. So at least we had the experience of what is it like to take the Wonderlic test or the Wonderlic personnel test. Ayan. So, sino sa inyo nag-take din ng same test? May iba ba? Or meron pa ba? Meron din po ba dito nag-take ng test? And how did you appreciate your score? Meron bang nagtaka or meron bang bakit ganito? Yes, there are. Really, kasi kapag mga cognitive tests, medyo ang kanilang point talaga na tinutumbok ay ang ating logical reasoning or ang ating mga capacity on how we think, use our higher order thinking skills. Kaya Sir Anis, I agree with you. Medyo sumakit din yung ulo ko when I first had the practice test on this Wonderlic cram course. So at least alam natin ngayon how it feels for those that we administer this test to, kung ano rin yung nararamdaman nila kapag sila rin yung nag-undergo ng test na to. Kasi tayo din, na-experience rin natin kahit ito ay parang practice test lang. Okay? So, any other answers from our participants? Meron pa ba na nag-take rin ng test na sana kahit sumakit yung ulo natin, madali tayong maka-recover after. Okay? Sige. Anyway, meron pa naman tayong ibang mga test that we will be getting together, yung mga assessments na sabay-sabay natin kukunin later on. Okay, so going back to our topic or to our discussion, so ayan, so nagkaroon na tayo ng practice test. Ngayon, titingnan naman natin, what is this next test all about? Or ano naman ang tawag sa test na ito? It is included, or this test includes items about our daily activities from which among individuals select their preferences. Ano ba tong test na to? Ano kaya sa tingin ninyo? Ang test na ito, tinitingnan kung ang isang individual ba, ano ba yung mga preferences mo? Ano ba yung mga hilig mo? Ano ba yung mga likes, dislikes? Parang basically ito yung content ng test na ito. Ano kaya ito? Any guess from our participants? Personality tests? Okay. Can be. Pwede naman, tama naman Sir Jamie, pero parang meron tayong gustong tumbukin na test or meron tayong gustong tumbukin na kung ano talagang tawag sa kanya. Any other answers? Thank you, Sir Jamie, for your answer. Okay, any other answers from our participants? Sa ating mga psychology students, this is somehow, kumbaga parang I review for you kasi alam ko na talagang malaking parte ang inyong mga ang topic on psychometrics or psychological testing. So thank you, Ma'am Roseanne. Very good. It is called the interest test. Thank you so much, Ma'am Roseanne. So tama, natumbok ni Ma'am Roseanne. It is the interest test because it aims to measure what a person likes and dislikes. And bakit sa tingin natin kailangan natin malaman yung mga likes and dislikes ng isang tao? Because it is assumed that kung ano daw yung mga likes and dislikes natin bilang isang tao, yaan din daw ang maging strong predictor if we will be succeeding in our job of preference or in the course in college na pinili natin. So halimbawa, mahilig ka sa mga investigative stories or mahilig kang manood ng mga stories or mga documentaries sa Netflix that involves investigation. So ano ba yung mga course na pwede mong kunin sa college that will enlighten or spark your interest para hindi tayo pabago-bago ng course or hindi tayo shift ng courses. That is also one of the contributions or purpose of the interest test. And halimbawa, sa occupation naman, ikaw ba ay isang tao na very keen sa details or ikaw ba ay isang tao na highly conscientious or gusto mo laging gumagawa ka ng tama and very adherent ka sa mga rules and regulations or policies ng inyong opisina? So maybe you are suitable in occupations that require those interests or those attitudes. That is also in the kumbaga proper placement of jobs. So, diyan din natin nakikita kung tayo ay nasa tamang landas ng ating career. But of course, there are caveats when in terms of kumbaga putting it in the or incorporating it in the job occupations kasi may mga pagkakataon that employers or applicants would answer to the point na alam nilang magugustuhan ng kanilang hiring manager or magugustuhan ng kanilang boss. So, para ang interested, kapag ikaw ay isang aplikante or ikaw ay isang empleyado na, ma-influence na siya or magiging bias na yung sagot mo dahil syempre gusto mong ilabas or gusto mong ipakita yung iyong socially desirable traits, yung mga bagay na tingin mo magugustuhan ng iyong employer or mai-impress ang hiring manager, which is usually the human resource personnel. So, yun. Kaya medyo mag-iingat ang ating mga hiring managers or kung sakali, pipili ka or i-assess mo ang mga applicants using this type of test. Or halimbawa, you are in the profession of guidance counseling, guidance counselor, you may want to use the interest test to spark or to enlighten your student or the student in the interest that he or she has. That is also, or you may also use that for personal development, the interest. Okay? So, meron tayong mga examples of the interest test that is commonly or widely used. Ang example natin dyan is the strong interest inventory. This is somehow, kumbaga parang kapatid or parang may relationship sila ni MBTI. Okay? So dito, ang purpose natin nito is to look into the 6 types of characteristics or the 6 types of characteristics that is also anchored to the Holland. If you have heard the Holland's personality or work trait personality po ba ang tawag doon? Parang doon siya para isa yun sa mga naging basis ng questionnaire or the formulation of the questionnaire for the strong interest inventory. Naging basis rin yung kay Holland work characteristic traits ba yun? If you know that particular questionnaire or kung ano ang tawag doon, please share it with the group or type it in our chat box. Kasi parang hindi ko sure kung yun yung, basta it's about Holland. Okay? So dito, napaka-importante na gamitin natin ang ganitong survey para sa mga students natin or those that are in the senior high school going into college or para sa ating mga career guidance counseling sessions. Kasi I have noticed karamihan sa ating mga college students in their first years, parang they are very unsure of the course that they have chosen. That's why pagdating sa second year ng kanilang college life, ang tendency is nag-shift sila ng course or sa second semester pala mag-shift na sila ng course kasi na-realize nila na hindi pala sila interested doon sa particular course na yon na una nilang pinili. So it is very important for us, if you are a guidance counselor, to explore using this type of inventory test or interest test para talaga ma-showcase natin and ma-highlight natin yung mga interest ng mga bata. One thing that I have also noticed in terms of aligning your interest in the course that you have chosen is that yung ating personality or our interest somehow is not aligned doon sa course. And then, later on in our lives, we want to pursue the interest that we have. So, halimbawa, nag-take ka ng master's degree that is not related to your baccalaureate degree. So, kung gusto mo mag-pursue ng career halimbawa, you want to teach in college, medyo mahihirapan ka to really get the job or the permanent position in terms of teaching in college kasi hindi aligned yung iyong baccalaureate degree doon sa master's degree. For example, your baccalaureate degree is Bachelor of Science in Biology. And then your your master's is in the educational leadership or educational management. So kung if you want to pursue a career in college and you want to become a professor, parang magkakaroon ng challenge doon dahil hindi aligned ang iyong master's doon sa iyong baccalaureate degree, which is dapat on the onset na pagka-start mo or you want to pursue your course, dapat napag-isipan mo na yun or you really had somehow a career guidance or you took the inventory test to make sure or the interest test really to explore what is it that you really want para doon sa career path mo talagang tuloy-tuloy yung mga courses or aligned yung mga courses na kukunin mo because that is also one way of developing and really having advancement in your career. Kasi in the human resource, parang mahirap sa amin to really, choose the right applicant for a certain position because their baccalaureate and master's degree and sometimes their doctorate degree is not aligned with the position that they are applying for. So halimbawa, kung ang undergraduate mo or yung baccalaureate degree mo, again, is in biology and then your master's is in educational management or in educational leadership and you want to teach biology in college, hindi siya aligned. Right? And then, yung doctorate degree mo is about naman educational psychology, for example. So, hindi din siya magtutugma doon sa gusto natin na profession or sa subject na gusto nating ituro. Yes. Kaya nahirapan ako maghanap na. Yes, Sir Aris, that is very true and that is highly relatable. Kaya ngayon, dito sa mga kasama nating mga students, please make sure that kung nasa ang career path kayo, halimbawa, your undergraduate or baccalaureate degree is in psychology, if you want to pursue a career in the field of the academic industry or in the academe, you have to align your master's degree with your baccalaureate degree. And doon ka na rin mag-focus sa iyong doctorate degree para tuloy-tuloy ang iyong career development. Kaya medyo challenging yan. Kaya ang interest test talaga, maganda siya i-administer doon sa mga bata na magpa-college para ma-explore talaga nila, magkaroon sila ng in-depth analysis or introspection of what they really want. Kasi sometimes, ang course na pinipili nila it's because of peer pressure dahil marami sa kanilang mga kaklase ang nag-psychology. Sige, mag-psychology na din ako. Or madami sa mga kaklase nila nag-enroll ng nursing, mag-nursing na din ako. Meron din tayong mga experiences that their baccalaureate degree is Bachelor of Science in Nursing and yet their job has something to do with clerkship or has something to do with office work. So if they want to apply for a job related to the clerkship and then yung bachelor's degree nila is in nursing, that is not, parang hindi siya aligned. So kung merong mga applicants na ang mga courses nila, for example, is Bachelor of Science in Office Administration or Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, major in, example, in Human Resource or major in Financial Management, that would be the priority courses na kukunin ng HR because that is somehow aligned to the position that the applicant is applying for over those na ang baccalaureate degree nila is in nursing. So that is not din to discriminate or that is not din to single out yung mga professions na hindi aligned. But of course, if we want to contribute to the success of an organization, we must first look into the potentials of our applicants. Kaya sa atin, napakaganda dahil dito sa session natin, we are composed of multifaceted participants. Kumbaga, sa diversity na meron tayo, ma-apply natin yung iba't ibang types of test na meron tayo sa sarili nating field. Dahil yung mga field na kung saan tayo ngayon, kumbaga parang pag pag ginawa natin siya or pag binuo natin siya, malaki yung contribution ng bawat isa. Kaya yung mga test, hindi lang siya applicable sa industrial organizational setting, but it is also highly applicable in the educational setting and in clinical settings or kung saang settings po na andun kayo, meron din tayong applicability dyan. Okay? So, another test or interest test is the CUDER Occupational Interest Survey. So together, we will answer the CUDER test or the cluster survey. Medyo, ang CUDER naman, medyo ano lang itong, tingin ko medyo mahaba itong test. But, let's, okay. Okay. Sige. So, since, maybe we will run out of time or baka konti lang, I will just give you, parang an overview or ipapakita ko lang kung ano yung mga test or ano yung mga contents ng test na ito. Para makita lang natin yung mga interest na gustong saklawin na interest test na ito. Okay. Sige. So dito, titingnan natin yung mga activities. Halimbawa, check the activities that describe what you like to do. So for example, you are leaning towards analysis, interpretation of data, leadership, politics, mahilig ka sa outdoors, no? You are an outdoorsy type of person. Or you are an empathic person. You care about the needs of other people. So, depende sa needs mo kasi depende sa mga likes mo because these types of occupations and professions really boils down sa kung ano yung gusto mo or ano yung nagsaspark ng interest mo bilang isang individual. For example, there are also positions where a certain individual is overqualified. For example, the cognitive skills of that certain individual. For example lang, ang kanyang skill is someone who is advanced in web developing. Kumbaga parang sa kanyang previous job, siya ay isang web developer. And then, there is an opening alam mo, in your organization that, example, ang opening sa organization ninyo is information analyst. And then this applicant in his previous job is a web developer earning a salary of, let's say, 100,000. And then, your position that is open in your organization is that of an information analyst. So the tendency is that if you are going to hire this person with these skills and with this knowledge and with these cognitive abilities, baka hindi siya maging efficient at maging bored siya sa trabaho na papasukin niya sa organisasyon ninyo, considering that he has advanced skills in web developing. So, baka siya yung tao na pag upo niya sa office as an information analyst, hindi siya magiging productive. Kasi para sa kanya, very, kumbaga parang hindi challenging cognitively and sa skills na meron siya. Another example, if the applicant or if the person is somehow leaning towards building relationship or interpersonal skills or is mahilig siyang makipag-usap sa mga tao or mahilig siyang makipag-usap sa mga colleagues niya. Or for example, ang kanyang attitude is that of a teacher, very relatable, very approachable, very people person. And then he wants to apply for a position na halimbawa information officer, information technology officer, na mako-confine siya sa four corners ng inyong office. Baka hindi rin siya magiging effective kasi ang interest niya wala doon. Ang interest niya sa mga tao. Ang interest niya is gusto niyang magmingle, gusto niyang magkaroon ng social relationship or ma-boost ang kanyang social skills or ang kanyang social presence. So hindi siya magiging effective doon sa job na yon. Or for example, sa mga estudyante, yung skills mo is very introvert ka naman. Parang you are into the analytic side. So kung halimbawa, ang course na gusto mong kunin is on communications or in social work or in psychology. So since this job requires you to really be with people, interact with them, socialize, build your interpersonal relationship, maybe you will not also be effective. So this test is really highly applicable because in the contents of the test, makikita natin na tinitingnan niya yung mga interest mo. Okay? So, tinitingnan niya kung ano yung mga bagay na nakaka-spark ng interest mo. Gusto mo ba ng routinary work or gusto mo ba ng field work? Kasi kung routinary work, hindi ka pwede sa labas, hindi ka pwede sa field work, hindi ka pwede sa field ng social work kasi lagi silang nasa field, lagi silang nasa community, doing community organizing jobs. Pero kung introvert ka, hindi ka rin pwede sa mga ganong klaseng trabaho kasi gusto mo routine, gusto mo traditions, or established work protocols. Ayaw mo kumbaga parang out of the box or ayaw mo ng mga bagong ideas kasi komportable ka sa mga bagay na kung ano yung nakasanayan mo gawin. So yun yung mga considerations natin at yun yung gustong ipakita sa atin ng interest tests. Okay? So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hands or type your questions in the chat box. Okay? Sige po. So next, we will proceed with the next type of test. Okay, so this test intends to measure specific skills, and at times, this test must be specifically designed for a particular job. So this type of test is what we, kumbaga parang ito yung test na to, hindi lang siya specific or hindi lang isang test ang ina-administer sa isang individual, but it includes a battery of tests that aims to measure different types of abilities and skills and traits. So ano kaya yung tawag sa test na ito? Okay, very good. The ability test or thank you so much, Ma'am Roseanne. So this is what we call the aptitude test as well. So ang aptitude test and the ability test is somewhat similar because this measures what type of abilities or ano yung mga different types of abilities. This is consists of different types of battery of tests that measures an individual's ability. So, meaning, ito yung mga tests that requires, kumbaga, these are being measured or test using test norms. That, for example, out of the 100 test takers, your score is like 82. Kung individual ang tingin natin doon, halimbawa, kung ang score mo is 82 at hindi natin siya i-compare or hindi natin titingnan yung big picture doon sa ibang mga nag-take rin ng test, parang hindi magkakaroon ng meaning yung score mo na yon. But if we use, kumbaga parang measurement or the norms of the test, titingnan natin yung score mo with, halimbawa, ang average is 80, kung halimbawa titingnan natin, hindi siya ganun ka taas yung score mo na 82 or hindi siya ganun ka, hindi rin siya ganun ka baba, pero hindi siya ganun ka, hindi ganun ka what do you call this, hindi ganun ka-impactful. Kumbaga parang, kung ikaw yung nag-take ng test out of the 100 test takers and you scored 82, hindi ganun ka-exemplary yung score mo. Okay? But pero hindi na rin naman masama yun, at hindi rin naman mababa, at hindi rin naman failing score. But again, wala siyang ganung impact or hindi siya ganun ka-exemplary compared to the 100 of other test takers. Okay? So, meron tayong iba't ibang mga aptitude test. Example of this is the Revised Minnesota Paper Form Board Test, So, usually ginagamit natin ito or this is being used for to measure mechanical ability that requires the capacity to visualize and manipulate objects in space. So, kadalasan ito ginagamit sa occupations that require artistic or mechanical orientation. Okay, what else? Next, we have what type of test that assess our personal traits and feelings. So ano kaya sa tingin ninyo yung test na ito? EQ test? Yes, pwede din. Medyo malapit na. Yes, yes po. Yes, please. Someone is raising their hand. Please po, go ahead. Okay. Sige po. Oh, so you may, if you have any questions, you may raise your hand or you may type your questions in the chat box. Okay? Okay, very good, Ma'am Roseanne. It is, of course, personality test. Ayan. So, we have different types of personality tests that we use in the different settings or depende sa purpose ng paggagamitan natin. So, meron two types of personality test. We have the self-report personality inventories. Ito yung mga self-paced questionnaires and ito yung mga items that deals with specific questions or situations that deals with an individual's feelings or symptoms or tendencies on how they deal with this situation. So individuals are asked to indicate how well each item describes themselves and how much they agree with each item. Kaya nga lang, meron din mga caveats itong mga self-report personality inventories because there is a high level or a high percentage that individuals take this test with high impression management or they want to project social desirable traits or yung mga personalities or traits that they think are socially acceptable. Kaya kapag gumagamit tayo ng personality test or we want to assess ourselves or other individuals with their personalities, we have to use different types of tests or hindi natin siya gagamitin for diagnostic evaluation to check if an individual undergoes psychosis or mental illness kasi hindi ito magiging appropriate. At the same time, usually mataas ang level of bias, especially kapag you took the test, for example, hindi maganda yung mood mo, or halimbawa, medyo masama yung loob mo, but you have to take this particular test. So, somehow your emotions at that time influence how you answer the test. Kaya hindi din, kumbaga parang, advisable that you only take or you only administer one type of test kasi medyo mataas ang magiging bias kapag isang test lang yung in-administer natin. But if you want to use this test for the purpose of personal development and for goal setting or for career path or career advancement, then we can use this particular test. Okay? Sige po. Do you have any questions at this point? Okay, sige. So, let's continue. Okay. So, ang ginagamit, usually, commonly used na personality test is the Guilford Zimmerman Temperament Survey. So, this 300 item self-report inventory measures 10 personality traits. Okay? So, ginagamit din ito for industrial organizational psychology. Sige. Okay. And then this one, the Minnesota Multifaceted Personality Inventory, or the MMPI. Usually, this test is used in the clinical setting because this test ay parang kinukuha niya doon, or this test calls out the diagnostic tendencies or the clinical tendencies of the test taker. So, kadalasan ginagamit ito kapag ang individual, or it is a patient that requires clinical diagnosis. So, titingnan natin kung ano yung mga contents ng MMPI. Kung ikaw ay isang psychiatrist or ikaw ay isang psychologist and you want to um, establish or rule out kung ano ba talaga yung mental, may psychotic ano ba ang trait, or meron bang psychosis yung iyong patient, anong type of psychosis, anong type of medical or anong type of illness ang nakikita mo sa kanya, you may use the MMPI. Kaya ang MMPI should be done or advisable na gamitin siya ng isang psychologist or ng isang psychiatrist kasi sila ay trained to look into these types of um, interpretations or assessment. So dito, titingnan natin ang MMPI. Kung ano yung mga questionnaires na naandito sa MMPI. Okay? So, Sir Dan also posted the link in the chat box. You may also explore what is the contents or what are the questions present in the MMPI too. Okay? So, tingnan natin ng sabay. But we will not answer anymore, or we will not uh, magsagot on your free time. But for now, ang titingnan lang natin, mag-pick through lang tayo sa questionnaires in the MMPI2. It's no big deal for me if I hurt the other people's feelings. So, diba, kung ikaw yan, you say, you are hurt kapag nasasaktan yung ibang tao. So, your answer is not me. Next. Ayan. I have repetitive thoughts that cause me anxiety. Ikaw it's not you. I have a may mga pagkakataon ba na gusto mo mag-isa? So, pwede naman. Definitely me. For example. So, if you are, di ba, if you notice, ang mga questions niya are leaning towards what type of person are you? Gusto mo ba na na-isolate ka? Or gusto mo ba na, are you empathic towards other people's feelings? Are you an empathic type of person? Kasi baka, hindi, kapag nasasaktan na yung ibang tao, parang wala ka lang emosyon, no? Hindi ka masyado, wala kang pakialam. Because in this test, you will also know if a person is somehow hypochondriac reality, or kapag chinek sila or diniagnose sila ng isang medical doctor ng kanilang illness, wala naman talagang nagsusurface na ganong illness sa kanila. So, minsan iniisip natin, lagi ako naka-experience ng migraine, baka meron akong brain tumor. So, minsan iniisip mo na may ganun kang sakit, pero kapag tinignan ka naman ng doktor, wala ka namang ganong sakit. So, maybe may mga behaviors ka that lead to you being a hypochondriac. So, ito yung mga questions that are present in the MMPI2. So, in your free time, in your convenient time, you may answer this type, or you may answer this test. But always remember that this is not, kumbaga parang hindi ito diagnostic talaga or conclusive. Practice test lang natin ito para makita lang natin or ma-feel lang natin what is it like to take this test. Okay? Going back, ayan. Yan. Ito yung pinaka-gamot na gamit sa industrial setting. This is the Big Five personality factors. So, if you recall the acronym OCEAN, the openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So, you may take this test in in this website, tingnan natin kasi dito immediately malalaman mo what are the dominant personalities or the personality traits that you have. Are you a type of person who is agreeable? Are you the type of person who is emotionally stable? Or are you the type of person who is very conscientious, always wants to do what is right and does not risk doing what is wrong? Okay, so tingnan natin ang big five personality traits. Ayan. So dito, yung practice test lang ito ha. So to take the big five personality assessment, rate each statement according to how well it describes you. Base your ratings on how you really are and not how you would like to be. So ito talaga ay kung sasagot ka with all honesty sa mga personality test, it will really help someone who is assessing you to really gauge what type of personality you have. Kasi kung medyo magpapa-impress or mataas ang social desirable or social desirability nung time na nagsasagot ng test, baka hindi rin or maging bias yung result ng test. But anyway, this is just a practice test. So it's okay if you just want to take a peek or take what does it feel like to take this particular test. But may I ask if some of you already took this test prior to the session or nagkaroon ba ng chance na ka-experience na rin kayo? Kasi ang Big Five personality traits is widely used in different types of setting, but it is also very utilized in the industrial setting. Kaya naka-try na rin po ba kayo mag-take ng ganitong test? Sa ating pong mga participants, have you experienced trying or answering this test already? Oh, okay. Who else has taken this type of test? Oh. Oh, si Miss Hannah. Thank you, Miss Catherine. So ngayon, si Ma'am Laarni, Ma'am Catherine, Dayan. Okay, someone has raised her hand. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. Sister Alice, before, yes, ma'am, please go ahead. 2 years ago po. Sige, those who have taken the test, would you want or would you be comfortable sharing with the group what are your dominant traits are based on the Big Five personality test? Would you be comfortable doon sa mga nag-take na ng test? Gusto niyo po bang i-share sa group kung ano yung experience niyo? Did you believe or parang nagulat po ba kayo sa result or parang expecting na kayo na oo, ganun talaga yung magiging result ng aking test? Ano kaya? Sir Aris, maybe this is your time to retake and check kung ano ka ba years ago. Were you the same? Or some of your personalities has already changed over the years. Same with Ma'am Marie. Baka noon, mataas ka sa openness. Pero ngayon medyo parang hindi na mas mataas na yung pagiging consensus or pagiging agreeable over openness or other traits in the big five personality traits. Okay, but as research says, doon sa big five personality traits, ang mga personalities daw or individuals who score high in the agreeable and the extroversion traits are those that excel in the workplace. So kung mataas yung extroversion and agreeableness, parang ito daw yung mga nagiging predictors na yung mga individuals na yon ay performers or achievers in their workplace. Sabi sa research, yun. Baka po iba na ngayon if mag-take ulit. Yes, ma'am, I agree. Kasi 'di ba, our personality changes naman. Kumbaga parang depende on the situation and the circumstances we have experienced, nagbabago-bago talaga ang ating personality. So, si Ma'am Hannah is I remember taking it in for our personal development class. Okay. So, siguro Ma'am Hannah, yung personality mo somehow has changed at that time na nag-take ka ng test compared sa ngayon na if you are going to take the test, meron siguro kahit konting pagbabago doon sa mga dominant traits natin. But the big five personality traits is really widely used in the organizational setting because this is where we try to assess the different types of personalities that is suitable to the applicant or to the employer or the current employers. Kasi kung halimbawa, um, this type of test naman is not also discriminatory because kung ikaw ay isang empleyado at medyo mataas ang iyong neuroticism, then that is the job of the learning and development in the human resource to capacitate you and to make you or to engage you in different learning sessions that will somehow encourage you or somehow to develop your other personality traits. Halimbawa, mataas yung neuroticism mo, hindi ka masyado nag-engage sa mga katrabaho mo, hindi ka masyado open to change. So if you are being injected with different types of learning and development sessions, and then nag-test ka ulit, may nakita silang improvement, may nakitang pagbabago doon sa iyong pakikitungo sa mga colleagues mo, then you are really honest in answering your personality test. Kasi talaga nakita yung improvement. But sometimes, may mga pagkakataon na hindi din nagiging honest, lalo na yung mga applicants because they want to really um, showcase their social desirable traits. Yun. So let us, you'd also like to explore what type of personality that you have right now. Okay, using this type of personality assessment with the big five personality traits. Okay, so wait, ayan. Okay. So going back, ayan. So meron din tayong tinatawag na projective techniques in the personality test. So projective techniques are the rationale behind is that people will project their thoughts. So dito, their people or individual project their thoughts, wishes, and feelings onto the stimulus in an effort to give it meaning. So kung sa um, ang perceived doon sa personality traits yung isang type of questionnaire, dito hindi ka kumbaga parang hindi mo masyado hindi ka magiging bias sa pagsagot because hindi siya magtatanong ng mga specific questions but it will present you with different types of images. In this case, the widely used naman in projective techniques is the Rorschach ink blood test. Pero in my case, I do not really hindi kasi ako magaling sa hindi ako kumbaga confident na mag-interpret ng Rorschach because para sa akin medyo mataas ang bias ko pagdating sa Rorschach ink blood test. Kaya sa mga projective techniques or sa mga projective test, I prefer the house three-person test. Di ba? I'm sure you are also familiar with the house three-person test and how it is being used as an interpretation or how is it being used to describe the personality of an individual. So, mas comfortable ako or mas confident ako pagdating sa HTP and the kinetic house 3-person test compared to the Rorschach kasi medyo feeling ko lang parang magiging unfair ako doon sa client kasi hindi ako confident baka hindi magiging accurate yung kanyang result kapag ito yung ginamit kong type of projective test. Okay? So, but let us just look into kung ano yung um, Rorschach test. So, tingnan natin. You may also like to try the Rorschach test. Naman siya, 10-item test. So, dito, titingnan natin kung ano ba yung, which is the closest to what you see in the image. Ano ba yung nakikita mo? A bloody spinal column, 2 clowns, red and black ink, 2 elephants, 2 Scotty dogs, little faces on the sides, a bug someone stepped on, a bursting bomb, nothing at all, a white top. Ako naman, ang nakikita ko is 2. So you may want to take the test with me also. So let's see kung ano yung ating personality based on the Rorschach. Okay? Next. What is the closest to what you see in the image? Parang shoulders, lungs, and stomach. Okay. Next. Which is the closest? Monkey. Okay. Parang saya nila i-take ng Rorschach for ano, no? For gusto mo lang malaman or gusto mo lang ma-feel. How does it feel like to take a Rorschach? So, which is the closest? Parang candle. Nice. What is the closest? Oh, parang bat. Gorilla. Animal skin. Ito, parang ano din, bat. Two people. Hindi na. A child's painting. Statues. Sino din yung nagtitake ng test? Maybe you'd like to share also your result if you took the test din, the Rorschach. Ito ay parang a cat whiskers. The head of a snake, a splattered mess, a furrow, a dragonfly, 2 kings crown, nothing at all. Finish. Okay. So the result is your results indicate that you are normal. So who did at mga results na nakita natin? Would you like to share also the results that you had in taking the Rorschach test? Kimiti, na-experience din po ba natin kung paano, ano yung feeling na, di ba parang doon sa mga images, very, kumbaga parang sa kada individual na mag-take ng test, talagang iba't iba yung kanilang perception or interpretation doon sa images na nakita nila. So, talagang iba-iba yung way of ano natin, seeing things. Kaya talaga iba-iba yung magiging interpretation or result ng ating personalities. Okay? So, The difference with this personality trait, this projective techniques compared to the self-report personality test is that this one is based on the images or the interpretation of the test takers when it comes to the presented image. So, unlike sa self-report, personality inventories, nasasagot ka talaga sa mga questions. Okay? So, let's go back to our topic. Ayan. Yeah. So, ngayon, puntahan naman natin, since we have already classified or discussed the types of psychological tests, kung ba ang personality test or the personality assessment is just but one type of psychological test. Okay? So, meron tayong iba't ibang types of tests that we administer to check or to assess the different constructs of a person. May it be cognitive, may it be mental, emotional, psychological, or the personality trait that you want to see or assess para maging effective ang isang individual or ang isang tao. So the differences of the psychological testing and the personality assessment differs in the different distinctions and relatedness. So titingnan natin siya based on the focus, the purpose, the methods, the applications, and the interpretation. So the psychological testing and personality assessment has its own or has its distinctive purposes. So a personality assessment, it is widely used to assess or to understand the individual's thinking patterns, the behaviors, and the feelings of a person, the person's tendencies. Kaya di po ba, if you've noticed, the result of the personality test or the assessment of an individual is usually in the predictive side. For example, the individual is likely would want to engage with other people and would want to build social relationships with them. So, hindi ka conclusive na parang, halimbawa ako, Miss Reyes is highly desirable when it comes to interacting with other people. But you only indicate the tendencies, the possibilities, the predictabilities of that type of personality trait. For example, um, in the category of warmth in the 16 PF or in the 16 personality factor test, you scored high. So the tendency of that is you are very warm and an outgoing individual. So you say in your interpretation that, for example, Miss Reyes is likely an outgoing and warm individual. She has the tendency to build relationships with other people on a more personal level. Because being warm to others and being socially desirable is both different trait. Kasi kung gusto mo lang uh, to interact with other people on a social level, parang gusto mo lang maging socially participative. Pero if you would want to interact with them on a more personal level, you would want to really know the person's traits. You would really want to listen to his feelings, his emotions. But if you just want to be with the person on a social level, you just want to be with his company because he's fun, he's outgoing. But when he already shares, nag-share siya ng kanyang mga emotions, nag-share siya ng kanyang mga struggles, ng kanyang feelings, you're not really interested to listen. So that is the difference when you assess the person's likability when it comes to his or her personality traits. So that is what you indicate in the personality assessment. Okay. In the psychological testing naman, the purpose is for usually for diagnosis, evaluation. Halimbawa, isa kang psychologist and you would like to assess or use these types of psychological tests to establish the your client's uh, symptoms. You would like to evaluate your client's behaviors. You'd like to rule out kung meron ba siyang psychotic tendencies because gusto mo makita kung meron ba siyang borderline personality disorder. So gusto mo makita yung sa diagnosis sa kanyang diagnostic test kung may mga ganun ba siyang traits na gusto or may ganun bang traits na may nakita ka leading towards bipolar. So may mga ganoon. Yun yung depende sa purpose. But in the personality assessment, it is just usually trying to assess the individual's personality traits. That is not really diagnostic in nature, that is not really evaluative in nature, but it is also predictive. Ginagamit natin siya when we conduct counseling, therapy, dyan natin ginagamit ang use of psychological testing because we are incorporating a lot of tests. Meron kang cognitive test, meron ka dyan personality test. So maybe you'd like to test the individual's cognitive skills, you'd like to test the individual's personality, you'd also like to test the individual's abilities. So mag-administer ka ng aptitude test, gusto mong makita yung kanyang motor skills. Kung gusto mo makita kung meron ba siyang mild or severe autism, gusto mo makita yung kanyang motor skills, pwede din naman yun. You use the psychological test. Okay? Sige. Next naman is the focus. So, usually when we use the personality assessment, our focus is, for example, if you are already employed, job is towards job satisfaction and you want a better career path. O, kaya sa personality assessment, it is usually used for personal development because dito nakikita natin based on the traits that you display or based on the traits that you show, are you highly satisfied, moderately satisfied, or not satisfied with your current job or the career that you are into? Pero tingin ko, para sa akin lang, sa analysis ko lang or sa tingin ko sa appropriateness ng personality test and sa interest test, mas maganda talaga siya gamitin sa ating mga students, sa ating mga high school students, sa ating mga college students, because this is the time where you maximize your potentials. And by doing that, you also look deeper into your own skills, your own traits, na tingin mo, ito talaga ako, at dito talaga ako tingin ko magiging productive, and dito ako magiging masaya. So dito naman, we also use personality test to improve our relationships. Kaya tinitingnan rin natin dito kung paano ka ba makirelate sa ibang tao. Ikaw ba, kung gagamitin natin ang OCEAN or the Big Five personality traits, kung mataas ang neuroticism or your emotional instability or mataas ang iyong isolation, levels of isolation, maybe there are things or issues in your life that you would like to talk about or you'd like to discover or comfortable ka na i-share sa iyong personal development coach. Kaya yan ang purpose ng personal development. Kaya meron tayong personal development coach or meron tayong life coach because that is the person that we trust na share natin sa kanya yung mga bagay na hindi natin maintindihan sa sarili natin so we can improve our relationships with other people. Kaya personality test talaga and personality assessment is not discriminatory because kapag may nakita tayong low and high traits, halimbawa, low score on this type of personality trait and high score on this type of personality trait, there are situations where your low scores are applicable and where your high scores are applicable. Later in the discussion, we will discuss deeper on that topic. Okay? In the psychological testing naman, this encompasses all psychological constructs. So, hindi lang tayo nag-focus sa personality, but we also focus on the cognitive skills, the mental skills, the emotional stability, the motor skills, the abilities of the individuals, because we want to see how the individual is functioning emotionally. Ginagamit natin ito, or we may use this if we have already made use of the psychological first aid. Halimbawa, isa kang guidance counselor sa school, and then doon sa iyong mga estudyante or doon sa mga estudyante doon sa school, you have explored using psychological first aid. Because psychological first aid is not also diagnostic in nature. It can also be applied, or it can also be practiced by non uh, or para-professionals, or is not in the field of psychology, or it's not, or someone who is not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because that is really being pushed for the use of all individuals, even someone in the community, even someone in the barangay, if he or she is confident to use or to administer psychological first aid kapag may nakikita siyang person in distress, he may do so. So going back to psychological testing, if ikaw ay isang guidance counselor or teacher, and then nakakita ka ng isang estudyante na nangangailangan ng intervention based on the concepts that you applied in the psychological first aid, you may refer this person for psychological testing to just, rule out kung meron ba talaga siyang dysfunctioning, meron ba talaga siyang maladaptive behaviors that is affecting his or her emotional constructs, mental constructs, or cognitive constructs, para kasi halimbawa ikaw yung teacher, nakikita mo na may dysfunctioning or dysfunctional ang kanyang emotions, or kung nakikita mo na meron siyang mga violent, aggressive tendencies na parang pakiramdam mo hindi usual sa mga batang kaedad niya, or meron kang nakikitang mental health disturbances or challenges doon sa bata, meron kang napapansin na learning disabilities or learning delays. So you may use psychological testing because that is dependent on the focus that you would want for the specific test. Kung ano yung gusto mong makita, ano yung gusto mong ma-rule out, ano yung gusto mong ma-achieve, bakit ka nagkakandak ng ganyang klaseng test or ganyang klaseng assessment. So, psychological tests is very helpful if you would want really to provide for an intervention doon sa individual na nakikita mo may early signs of, for example, learning difficulties. Kasi po kung ikaw ay isang teacher, ikaw ay isang guidance counselor, tapos nakita mo ng maaga na ang isang bata ay merong learning difficulties, na po, napakalaking tulong po yan sa kanya. Kasi agad-agad malalaman ng pamilya or malalaman mismo ng bata na kaya pala medyo delayed ang aking understanding, or kaya pala hindi ako nakaka-cope sa lessons ni teacher kasi may ganito pala akong disability. Because really, that is not, kumbaga parang i-realize, especially in the rural areas. Itong mga bata, hindi nila alam na ang condition pala nila is already unique, is already, hindi siya yung parang, okay lang yan kasi ganun talaga siguro dahil hindi ka naman matalino, or hindi ka naman ganun kabilis maka-catch up ng lessons, parang hindi siya nagiging helpful, hindi siya nagiging constructive kasi parang tingin natin na, ay gano'n naman talaga siya, hindi naman talaga siya matalino. So hindi gano'n yung hindi gano'n yung treatment natin. 'Pag may mga nakikita tayong mga bata na nagkakaroon ng learning difficulties, I know na ang mga teachers natin, they're also struggling pagdating sa mga ganyang usapin because the community is not really receptive, or hindi sila gano'n ka-accepting sa mga ganyang klaseng mga sitwasyon and circumstances. But little by little, through these types of interventions or advocacies that we can slowly inject awareness on these types of learning difficulties and awareness on mental health. Kaya slowly, we are also introducing psychological testing, hindi lang para sa tingin natin na may mga problema sa pag-iisip, pero kahit ikaw may mga struggles ka, may mga pinagdadaanan ka mentally and emotionally, you can also have testing, or you would want really to have um, yourself checked by a psychologist or a psychiatrist kasi the stigma is really present. Kasi halimbawa sa school, no, if our kung meron po tayo, I'm sure meron tayong mga participants dito that can relate with me from DepEd na parang kapag ang isang estudyante ay galing sa office ng guidance counselor, ang isipin ng mga kaklase niya ay, si ganito nabaliw na ata kasi kinausap siya ng guidance counselor. Or baka may problema siya sa pag-iisip niya kasi nakita ko siya lumabas galing sa office ng guidance counselor, eh. Kaya talagang baka meron siyang ano, problema sa pag-iisip niya, baka nabaliw na 'yan. So yung mga gano'ng klaseng stigma, let us, slowly, help one another to really advocate that, these types of situations, although this is unique, this is, parang a learning intervention or kumbaga parang a learning opportunity for each one of us na hindi ito normal. Although this is not normal, this is highly, kumbaga treatable, and we can do something about this through interventions, through psychological testing, through personality assessment. So yan yung mga bagay na gusto nating makita, gusto natin, ipaalam sa mga tao, sa mga kasama natin na hindi ibig sabihin na that you underwent these types of tests, ikaw ay nasisiraan na ng ulo. So let us slowly, help one another eradicate the mental health stigma or this type of stigma because we are also protected by the mental health law. Di ba meron tayong assistance na makukuha sa government kapag meron tayong mga na-experience na ganitong mga problems or challenges. Meron tayong doon sa mental health law, naka-specify na pwede tayong mag-request or pwede tayong mag-avail ng free check-up kapag tayo ay nakakaranas ng mga ganitong klaseng symptoms. Same with the symptoms that we experience when we consult our doctor kapag tingin natin mataas na yung blood sugar level natin, mataas na yung blood pressure natin. So ganito lang din naman yung magiging treatment natin sa mga ganitong klaseng illnesses. Okay? So I hope we had the, kumbaga parang the distinction of that in terms of focus. Okay? So please, if you have any questions, please feel free to open your mics or put them in the chat box so everybody can also relate to your thoughts or to your opinions because we will learn from each and everyone's experiences. And I also highly encourage everyone, especially for of course, our students as well and yung mga kasama nating professionals to also share their experiences related to these topics. Baka, I'm sure may matutunan tayo sa bawat isa. Okay? Thank you for that. So next, ayan, sa method. So the way we administer these types of tests. So, ang personality assessment, again, that is a self-report questionnaire. So, that is a self-report inventory of a series of questions that you would want the test taker or the client to really answer honestly. Ayan. So, these are through questionnaires, interviews, observations, but the highly ones that is used is through questionnaires. Kasi for example, kung nasa industrial setting ka, sa isang industrial organizational setting, and you have roughly about 100 applicants in one position, so parang when you administer the personality assessment or the personality test, parang hindi mo na or you would not have the chance to really, talk to them, to conduct an interview one by one. But if you got the chance to, out of the 100 applicants, for example, or students, for example, titingnan mo doon yung, for example, for students, titingnan mo doon kung sino yung medyo tingin mong merong mga traits that are unique, that tingin mo na medyo kailangan ng further assessment. So that's the time that you go for interview and you observe the personalities of these children. But your baseline would be the result of the self-report questionnaires or the self-report inventory. So yun yung magiging basis mo for your further assessment, for your interviews, for your observations, para makita mo, this particular individual or this child exhibits unique behaviors that hindi ko nakikita sa iba. Okay? Also, psychological testing, it is standardized. It is standardized tests and assessments designed to measure specific psychological constructs. Okay. So the difference between, di ba, halimbawa, meron tayo, in our example, I have shown you different types of personality tests that is done online, right? But ano kaya yung difference niya compare doon sa ginawa talaga ng isang professional? Halimbawa, pumunta po talaga kayo sa isang psychological clinic or pumunta po talaga kayo to secure for your personality assessment and personal development session. Ang pagkakaiba po niyan is the method on how these tests were, number one, being administered. Okay? Paano siya ginawa? Paano siya ipinaliwanag ng isang halimbawa sa akin ng isang psychometrician or ng isang hiring manager or sa isang human resource officer. Was the instruction carefully explained? Were the items carefully discussed? Yung halimbawa, a particular test consists of 300 items. If there are 20 items or more that were left blank or unanswered, this type of test will be considered null and void. Yan yung mga bagay na hindi natin makukuha kapag nag-take tayo ng online test. The standardized, the way that the test is being administered to us. Second, the norms, the test scores or the test norms. Because the type of test, halimbawa, the 16 personality factor test, that is being measured with the norms. Halimbawa, sa mga babae, iba yung interpretation ng mga scores sa female. There are some constructs in the test that has a different score for females and that has different scores for males because basically males and females have different personalities when it comes to this particular trait. For example, so may mga ganyang norms or test norms ang ina-apply ang isang standardized tool or sa psychological testing. Another is that when you want to validate the constructs of or you would want to see if the test is valid or if the test is reliable, you cannot do that in the online test. But you can do that for the psychological tests that are standardized, the tools that are standardized, because you can validate the constructs being used, the criterion being used in that particular test. So, if the test is valid, kahit ilang beses ka pa mag-test, or I mean, if the test is reliable, kahit ilang beses mo pa kunin yung test na yan, although there are discrepancies in the test, no? Kumbaga parang, siguro ngayon nag-score ka ng 90, and then, pag-take mo ulit, nag-score ka ng 89, 88, may mga ganong discrepancies, pero hindi significant. Hindi siya ganun ka-significant to the point na parang ito-question mo yung reliability ng test. And that is not what, and hindi mo yan ma-achieve if you take the online test lang. Kaya ang mga online test, hindi siya ganoon ka-reliable po talaga. Kagaya ng mga ginagawa natin, this is just for practice sake, para makita lang natin. But if you would really want to assess your personality, you'd go to someone that is really a professional who would really provide you with the printed assessment. Kasi halimbawa, kagaya ko, if you'd go to me for personal assessment, I will assess you using a standardized tool. For example, the tool that I will use is the 16 personality factor tool. So gagamitin ko siya to assess your personality and give you a printout of the narrative report of the assessment that you took. Meaning, doon sa mga personality traits na yon, the 16 personality factors, alin doon yung may traits ka na dominant based on the global factor traits. So, alin doon naman yung score mo na nag-average ka lang, and what are the implications of that? So the low scores, the average scores, and the high scores, each of these has its own implications to your personality, to your development. Kaya, if you'd like to really have an assessment of your personality, you have to go to someone that is professional. Kasi doon niya i-discuss, doon ka niya bibigyan ng feedback kung ano yung result ng test mo na hindi mo makukuha kapag nag-avail ka ng online test. Kaya do not be, discouraged kapag mababa yung test mo kapag nag-take ka doon sa mga examples natin kanina, because that is just basically, kumbaga, an experience. But that is not really a concrete definition, or hindi siya, kumbaga, parang conclusive of what is really your personality. Even in the test that professionals administer, hindi rin siya conclusive. That's why there is always room for improvement and development in the processing side of the result of the test. Kaya hindi yun natin makukuha yung feedbacking mechanism, hindi natin makukuha yung assessment side kapag dito tayo sa mga online test. Kasi iba talaga kapag may professional na tumitingin sa result ng test mo. Kasi in the series of the sessions that you'll have, maybe in this session, we'll focus on your low scores in this particular personalities, no? And then on the next session, we will focus on the average. Bakit ba ito average? Or mataas ba ang impression management? Or mataas ba yung percentage ng social desirability mo nung time na nag-take ka ng test? So yung mga ganong classic factors, we will discuss that during the processing of the test that you took. Okay? So, yan yung mga criterion of the specific test that these are being measured by psychological testing and by personality assessment. So, depende sa type of criterion. For example, emotional stability, no? Halimbawa, gusto mong i-measure yung iyong emotional stability. So, ang test na ba, or does this particular test really measure what is it intended to measure? The emotional stability or your emotional stability? Kasi the questions that is pertaining to emotional stability is, for example, do you feel emotional when someone is sad? No? Or are you being, example lang itong mga questions, example, when one of your closest friend had a heartbreak, would you also feel the same? Kumbaga parang, if a person goes to you and shares to you na, I am very hurt kasi ganito yung naramdaman ko, I am emotionally broken. And then, baka ikaw yung type of friend or you're a type of person na mas nasaktan ka or yung mas umiyak ka pa kaysa doon sa friend mo. So, parang the emotional stability there is really, kumbaga, parang depende sa sitwasyon na naroon ka, or depende sa sitwasyon na present ka at that time, or sa circumstances din, or sa emotional state mo din at that moment. So, depende po yan. Kaya hindi siya definitive and conclusive in nature. Okay? So that is the difference between the two when it comes to methods of being, or the methods used in the specific tests applied to you. Okay? Sige. And of course, to the application. So, in the personality test, this is widely used in the context of, pwede rin sa clinical psychology, counseling. This is really mostly used in career guidance. So if you're a guidance counselor, you will really make use of these types of tests, especially the personality test, because this will really, kumbaga, establish the type of personality or predict the personality of the clients or the students that you have, or the students that you process for counseling. Kasi dito mo rin makikita kung what type of counseling technique ba ang kailangan mong i-apply sa kanya. Kasi baka hindi sa kanya mag-work yung mga specific counseling techniques given na may mga ganito siyang types of personality. So may mga ganyan tayong mga considerations din na ibinibigay sa ating mga clients. Okay? So this is also used in organizational psychology, especially if the job requires for an kumbaga parang, retention, 'no? Kumbaga parang hindi mabilis yung transition, hindi mabilis yung pag-resign ng mga empleyado, hindi mabilis yung kung halimbawa magre-retire na siya, ano yung mga dapat, steps niya or ano yung mga ite-take niyang mga test para itong individual na ito or itong empleyado na ito ay mag-excel pa sa kanyang trabaho o umangat pa sa kanyang posisyon bago siya mag-retire. So ito yung mga test na i-apply mo sa kanya using also the skills that the employee currently has. Halimbawa, ang kanyang personality is that of a managerial type. So alam mo na yung kanyang personality. So ano yung mga ibang mga test na i-apply mo para naman ma-enhance ang kanyang mga technical skills? Para, halimbawa na-project mo, 5 years from now magre-retire na siya, pero nandito pala siya sa ganitong posisyon. So ano yung mga gagawin ko, mga steps being the HR para ma-align ko yung personality niya sa kanyang mga technical skills para bago man lang siya mag-retire 5 years from now, ay ma-attain niya yung kanyang promotion. Or at least, maka-upgrade siya ng kanyang level. Or kung ngayon, mid-supervisory level siya, at least umangat man lang siya sa managerial level or mas tumaas pa siya sa posisyon na kung nasaan siya ngayon. For example naman, sa isang estudyante, no, gusto mo mag-develop personally, you want to acquire personal development. So, ano yung mga skills mo that you'd think would be highly marketable for you if you would like to land a job in, for example, in the government, or halimbawa, you'd like to apply for an entry level in the government. So, ano yung mga skills na kailangan mong mag-master? Ano yung mga skills yung kailangan mong ma-develop? Because, in the industrial organizational side, looking into these types of assessment, tinitingnan rin doon yung mga experiences ng isang aplikante, experiences and the trainings that he or she had acquired in relation to the position that he or she is applying for. For example, okay, example, ang ina-applyan ng isang applicant, of course, I mean, ng isang individual is administrative Administrative Officer 1, specifically assigned to be in, example, in the supply section or in the procurement unit. So example, ang position is Administrative Officer 1, and the parenthetical description of that is in the procurement unit. So, ang graduate mo or yung baccalaureate degree mo is Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, major in Financial Management. Okay, so kahit pa paano meron rin naman relatedness or relatability. However, your experiences are not aligned. For example, ang experience mo ay more on the, halimbawa, wala kang experience related to procurement. Wala kang experience or wala kang background pagdating sa procurement law. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga basics of the processes in the government when it comes to procurement. Wala kang idea sa BAC. Hindi mo alam ang transactions na ginagawa ng BAC Secretariat or ng BAC Department or ng unit. So, although ang iyong baccalaureate degree is aligned, but your experiences and your training is not aligned to the position you're applying for, you will not be prioritized for shortlisting or hindi ka mapipili to proceed with the initial assessment, which is the examination on your technical skills. So, kung halimbawa man, ang career na gusto mong i-pursue, halimbawa you are a college student right now, and then you want to pursue a career in human resource, your trainings as early as now should be aligned to human resource. or your trainings right now should be aligned to the target career that you'd like to apply for after you graduate from college. For example, you want to you graduated with a degree in legal management and you'd like to be part of the legal assistant. You would like to apply for a legal assistant job. So dapat ang mga trainings mo and your exposure or halimbawa student ka, ang mga trainings mo o yung seminars na na-attendan mo, dapat may basis or may kinalaman sa ina-applyan mo as a legal assistant. Halimbawa, nag-train ka on report writing, nag-train ka on the basics of law, kung ano man yung mga specifics about laws, no? Hindi ako masyado proficient dyan, wala ako masyadong background, but you are leaning towards the political side. For example, nagkaroon ka ng internship or nag-practicum ka sa office of the mayor or the sangguniang bayan or the sangguniang panlalawigan, nakita mo yung processes on the parliamentary procedures. So yung mga ganoong trainings mo should be aligned to the position that you're applying for or the target position that you'd like to apply if you'd like to land a job in the government, specifically in the job that you'd like really to become part of. Kasi especially if the position is for a permanent position siya, tinitingnan doon yung inyong skills, the trainings that you had participated, ilang hours ba yung training mo on this specific topic aligned to the position you're applying for. Kasi, although, for example, you are a para-professional, yung baccalaureate mo is not really aligned to the position you're applying for example, legal assistant, pero yung baccalaureate mo, halimbawa, is BFBA major in human resource, pero yung training mo naman is aligned to the legal assistant side, pwede ka makonsider for initial assessment. Right? Kasi yung mga trainings mo, yung background mo, is somehow aligned to the position you're applying for. So yan, yung assessment process, the personality assessment side, yan yung application niya to the job application. If you're a student and you'd like to immediately be hired or at least go into the initial process. Kaya, kapag nagtitingin nga po ako ngayon ng mga resume, kapag nagtitingin ako ngayon ng mga PDS, tinitingnan ko yung experiences, yung trainings ng mga estudyante. And I'm really impressed doon sa mga estudyante na talagang they made an effort to really educate themselves and really prepare themselves to be equipped bago pa man sila mag-apply. Because in the competition, no, in the application process, talagang competition yan, the best of the best. Hindi lang siya in terms of ano yung natapos mo, but in terms of the trainings that you had. Kasi the trainings and the experiences that you had, yan yung mga hindi tinuturo ng theories. Kasi dyan mo na i-apply yung mga theories na napag-aralan mo. Ano yung mga, what are the specific situations that you applied these theories, that you made use of these theories in the reality, in the realistic setting. So dito natin makikita yung kung gaano ka ka-eager and ka-enthusiastic to really align your passion to the baccalaureate degree that you have finished. So kung halimbawa, ikaw naman ay isang professional ka na, pero tingin mo parang kulang ka sa experience, kulang ka sa training. So doon ka naman mag-focus sa mga bagay na that sparks interests in you. For example, you want to advance your career. Gusto mo mag-apply as, halimbawa, administrative officer 1 ka or teacher 1 ka, and you'd like to apply for a higher position or for a promotion. Of course, you have to proceed with your advanced studies. Kailangan mo mag-aral, kailangan mo mag-take ng master's, kailangan mo mag-take ng doctorate degree, pero make sure that it is aligned to what do you want to aim for. Kaya dyan po, pinaka-helpful ang personality assessment. Dyan po talaga natin magagamit yung personality assessment because that will really scrutinize your traits, your goals, kung ano yung mga gusto mo, ano yung mga gusto mo ba, align ba sa personality mo? Kasi baka yung ideal self mo is really far from your actual self. So doon natin i-bridge yung gap through personality assessment. Okay? That is also, psychological testing naman, the application of this is medyo vast, no? Medyo critical because this is used in the clinical assessment. Meron ditong diagnostic side, prognosis side, meron ditong therapy, meron ditong interventions, counseling, and meron ditong minsan medications. Kapag meron kang, if you are diagnosed with certain mental illnesses that needs medications, for example, you are diagnosed with depression, so kailangan mo talaga mag-medicate along with going into therapy as well. So, dyan yung ginagamit yung psychological testing sa pagtingin na ng kabuuan ng pagkatao ng isang client. If he or she experiences these types of challenges in his or her personality, in his or her behaviors in terms of dealing with psychosis and in terms of dealing with mental struggles. Dito sa personality assessment, minsan gusto lang natin makita or gusto lang natin ma-check, kamusta na ba ako? Ano ba yung mga personality traits ko that have improved in the course of time? Ano ba yung mga bagay na, wow, tingin ko, drastic yung improvement ko? Or ano yung mga bagay na minsan, nakalimutan ko na kailangan ko palang i-improve yung mga ganitong klaseng bagay. Okay? So, yun. So, moving forward, okay, tingnan naman natin yung interpretation. Usually, personality assessment is based on normative data. Halimbawa, ito bang mga taong ito, usually, we compare the results of this type of personality to the data ng isang normative data, which means parang, ito yung usually yung result ng mga taong nag-take ng the same test. No? This similar test, the result of these individuals usually are these types of result. So ito compare natin siya using the theoretical concepts or the normative data. Pero kapag psychological testing kasi, this is usually based on the construct being measured. For example, the criterion in terms of assessing the type of halimbawa, mental disability or halimbawa, psychosis, medyo, kumbaga parang titingnan mo siya sa result or i-compare mo siya sa different types of result na tinake ng client mo. Kumbaga parang, halimbawa, nag-take siya ng cognitive test, nag-take siya ng personality test, and nag-take siya ng different types of test, doon mo i-compare yung result niya within the constructs of that particular client only. Unlike sa personality assessment, na pwede kang mag-generalize or i-check mo or i-validate mo yung result ng isang individual based on kung ano yung result ng mga karamihang nag-take ng the same test. Because you'd like to see an insight of their personality as well or how they are behaving. For example, yung mga tao ba that are socially bold, ano ba usually yung kanilang mga behaviors? No, ano ba usually yung kanilang mga personalities? Ano ba usually ang mga traits and characteristics nila? So doon mo tinitingnan, doon mo siya kino-compare sa normative data, sa data kung saan yung result ng mga taong ito ay the same ba? Ano ba yung mga result in the general sense na ito yung mga 10 individuals took this personality test. Similarly, ano yung mga social boldness traits na pinakita nila? What are the dominant traits in the social boldness na pinakita nila na the same sa kanila? Pwede mo i-compare. Pero kapag psychological testing, hindi mo pwedeng i-compare. Halimbawa, yung test results ko sa test results ni Ma'am Maureen. Kasi magkaiba kaming tao. Magkaibang, kumbaga parang magkaiba yung construct na minimeasure sa amin. Iba yung criterion na kung saan pinagbasehan yung aming mga test. So, hindi pwede ipag-compare yung psychological test ko, yung result ko sa kay Ma'am Maureen, for example. Kasi iba kami ng mental state, iba kami ng Kumbaga parang iba kami ng cognitive ability, iba kami ng circumstances na pinagdaanan at that time na nag-take kami ng test, iba kami ng sitwasyon, iba kami ng pinanggagalingan. So, hindi siya comparable doon. So, we can make use of the personality assessment if you would like to compare. Halimbawa, ang mga individuals ba na mataas ang worth, usually ganito ba sila mag-behave? Are they usually outgoing? So we can use that as our basis. But in a psychological testing, we cannot make use of my result compared with the result of others because hindi siya magiging valid, hindi siya magiging reliable. Okay? Sige po. Moving forward, so these types of tests, ano yung magiging impact niya sa ating personal development? Or ito bang mga personality test, personality assessment, psychological test, ano ba yung impact nito sa ating personal development? But for the sake of this discussion, we will focus on personality assessment. Ano ba ang impact ng personality assessment on our personal development? Or meron ba? Titingnan natin. Okay? So when we take personality tests or personal assessment, we become highly aware of our own strengths and weaknesses. And when we are becoming more aware of what our strengths and weaknesses are, we are also becoming aware of the things that interests us. Dito natin malalaman or dito tayo makakapag-decide if we are in the right career, if we are in the right job, if we are in the right course for students, or ano yung magiging trabaho natin in the near future basing on the level of our self-awareness. Because, when we try to have a heightened level of self-awareness, if we really make an effort to really know ourselves, mas madali sa atin ang personal development. Because personal development is encompassing all our aspects in our lives. It will be easier for us to reach our roadmaps in life, our goals. Kapag alam natin yung mga bagay na kung saan tayo magaling. Halimbawa sa akin, alam ko na hindi ako magaling sa mathematical analysis. Hindi ako magaling sa numbers. Pero alam ko, magaling ako sa public speaking. Magaling ako sa interpersonal relationships. So, the career path that I chose is within this constructs, within this um, traits or abilities that I have. Halimbawa, ikaw, alam mo sa sarili mo na napakagaling mo sa analysis, napakagaling mo pagdating sa pagiging introvert. And mind you, ang pagiging introvert and ang pagiging extrovert, wala yan positive and negativity. Hindi yan good or bad. There are no good traits, there are no bad traits. There are just situations where being an introvert is much applicable than being an extrovert. Or there are situations that highlights more our being an extrovert and highlights our more on being an introvert. So wala yan good or bad meaning. Wala yan good or bad description. Even in the test or in the personality test and the highs and lows of the bipolar results of this, wala yan good or bad. Okay? Lahat yan may purposes, lahat yan may reasons. So going back to self-awareness, when you are highly aware of yourself, you are also rewarding yourself of being contented in the things that you already possess and in the things that you would like to acquire. For example, alam ko in myself, alam ko that I'm really very, hindi ako computer savvy type of person. But because I want to improve, and I know na hindi ako magaling sa ganitong bagay, pero kailangan ko mag-improve. Kaya, kailangan ko mag-enroll sa mga courses that are giving free seminars on Google Workspace or Google Workspace applications para magaling akong gumamit ng mga ganitong klaseng tools. Kasi kailangan ko ito for these particular sessions, right? Or for example, although hindi naman ako ganun kagaling sa Excel, but I try. to at least familiarize myself with the basics kasi kailangan ko siya in the data analysis. Kahit basic lang of the data analysis, kailangan ko siya kasi kailangan ko ma-analyze yung mga data na meron ako pagdating sa mga data ng mga applicants na hawak ko. So, when you are self-aware, you know that there are things that you cannot do and there are things that you can do as well. Nababawasan rin yung level of insecurities natin. Kasi alam natin that although these people are so good in these types of skills, alam mo rin naman na may mga skills na kung saan magaling ka. Diba? May mga skills rin na alam mo, hindi din niya alam na magaling ka naman doon kahit papano. Kaya nababawasan rin yung level of insecurity natin sa isang tao or sa ibang tao. Kasi alam natin may mga bagay na or may mga kakayahan tayo na wala rin sila. At the same time, may mga kakayahan rin sila na wala tayo. So that is just striking a balance between the things that we know and we don't know but we aspire to learn. Okay? So that is self-awareness, promoting self-awareness by helping ourselves gain deeper insights on the things that we want to improve on by assessing our own feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Okay? What else? Ano pa yung impact ng ating personality assessment on personal development? Okay? We also identify our strengths. So, dito natin nakikita kung saan ka magaling so that you can also increase your level of self-confidence and your level of efficacy. For example, by the way, doon po pala sa mga participants natin na kakapasok lang, welcome to our session and welcome to our discussion on personality development, appreciating personality assessment and its impact on personality development. So don't worry po if you just got in the link because this session is recorded. And we will be sending you the recordings of the session once you registered. We will be using the email address that you use upon your registration so we can send these documents to you. Okay? So don't worry because if you need anything or if you need additional documents or you need additional review materials, please let me know. I am readily available or I am highly accessible sa aking Facebook account. Okay, you can message me anytime. Pero nga lang, if it is weekdays and 8 to 5, kasi meron po akong 8 to 5 job, kaya medyo, pag ganyang oras, medyo nagiging preoccupied lang ako, but rest assured that at the end of the day, at the end of the 8 to 5 job, magre-reply po ako or sa inyo or makikipag-communicate po ako sa inyo. Okay? So going back, in identifying your strengths, for example, you are a graduate of BS Social Work and you applied for a position in the project management unit. Sa project management unit, ang kailangan dyan ay mga engineers, mga architects, mga master plumber, mga mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. So maybe, if you do not realize your strengths, masisway ka doon sa career path na hindi mo naman master or hindi mo naman alam. Kaya dapat, if you want to develop yourself on a personal level, if you want to have personal development, you have to identify what are your strengths. Baka hindi ka sa project management unit. Pwede. Pero baka pwede ka sa planning unit. Baka pwede mo matulungan ang unit mo pagdating sa identify ng performance or strategies in attaining your organization's performances or strategical goals. So, hindi ka pwede doon sa project management, pero pwede ka sa planning unit kasi mag-guide mo ang iyong organization, mag-guide mo ang boss mo, kung ano yung mga strategies na pwede ninyong gawin para ma-reach ninyo yung inyong operational goal or yung strategic goals ng inyong organization as a whole. So, when you attain kasi di ba, when we attain our performance or our key performance indicators, the strategic priorities that we have in our specific units, that is also attaining the whole of the goal of the organization. Hindi ibig sabihin na, ay, clerk lang ako, wala akong masyadong ambag dyan sa kung ano man ang goal ng aking organization. Hindi mo alam na ang clerk ay napakalaki ng contribution niya in making sure that the transaction of the office of that particular unit is being addressed to on a daily basis. Kasi kung walang clerk, hindi magpa-function ang isang office ng maayos. Walang mag-i-intake or walang magre-receive ng mga documents na kailangan ng boss mo para makita niya yung mga latest memos, yung mga latest na nangyayari sa inyong organization. So each of us has, di mo man nakikita na ikaw ay malaking part, pero ikaw ay malaking part sa attainment ng goal ng iyong organization. Kaya hindi mo dapat tinitingnan yung sarili mo na ay wala naman, ano lang ako assistant lang ako, wala naman akong kinalaman diyan sa trabaho ng boss ko. Ikaw ang pinakamalaking asset kahit assistant ka dahil kung hindi dahil sa'yo, hindi magiging smooth ang operations ng inyong office. Hindi magiging smooth ang transactions ng inyong opisina. Kung wala yung boss mo, halimbawa nasa official business siya, ikaw ang tatayo or ikaw yung mananatiling pagtatanungan ng mga concerns ng iyong mga kasama. So kung ikaw ay ineffective, malaki ang madi-derail ang transaction ng office mo. Pero kung ikaw ay isang effective, kaya mo trabahuin kahit nga yung boss mo, alam mo yung trabaho. So that increases your efficacy in your work. Kasi confident ka na gawanan yung trabaho. Dahil alam mo yung strengths mo bilang ikaw ay isang halimbawa, ikaw ay isang clerk or administrative assistant because you know your job too well na kahit hindi mo, wala magsasabi sa'yo, wala mag-instruct sa'yo, alam mo yung gagawin mo. And that is identifying your strengths, not just as a worker, but also as a person. Okay? Next. Sorry. Yan. Dito naman natin nakikita yung ating areas for improvement. Ano yung mga qualities, yung skills mo na alam mo na kailangan mo ma-improve? Okay. Okay. I'd like to ask po if my audio is clear or baka choppy ako on your end. Medyo clear po ba yung aking boses? Or wala po bang mga noises sa aking paligid na nakaka-distract? Okay, thank you po, Ma'am Marie, for that. Ma'am Hannah, thank you so much. Because I feel na parang baka merong mga noises sa aking surroundings, no, na baka nakaka-distract sa inyo. Okay, thank you so much. Kian, Sir Elmer, Ma'am G, thank you so much for that. So again, going back to our discussion, if you know that these are the areas that you need to improve on, that can develop your personal growth. Not only your personal growth, but also your professional growth. Halimbawa, alam mong hindi ka magaling sa technical writing. And bilang isang legal assistant, for example, you have to be good at that. Kasi minsan, pinapakisuyuan ka ng iyong attorney or ng lawyer na, oh, Ma'am Jean, mag-draft ka naman ng contract or mag-draft ka naman ng resolution. So, since ikaw, alam mo na, medyo hindi ako marunong nito. So ngayon, ang gagawin mo is to seek for advice doon sa mga taong magaling gumawa ng mga resolution or magaling gumawa ng mga communication or memos or technical writing para ikaw ma-equip ka rin na magkaroon ka ng ganyang skill. And if you would like to apply for a promotion that would require that certain type of skill, at least meron ka ng edge sa ibang mga applicants. For example, you're a student and then you would like to apply for a position related to being an information officer where you will be tasked to draft or to write an article about, like, for example, feminism. Hindi ka masyado aware sa mga social issues and hindi ka masyado aware kung paano siya i-construct. You have to gain, not, kung hindi man natin ma-attain pa syempre yung expert level, at least the beginner level on how to construct an article about certain social issues like feminism. So, kung mga ganitong areas of improvement, alam mo na ganito yung mga bagay and you're open to do and improve this side of you, and then you attain a level of personal growth and professional growth. For example naman, you are a guidance counselor, but you are somehow not a very empathic person. Parang kapag, ah, ano na, 8 to 5 na, kailangan ko nang umuwi. Hindi ako pwedeng magpalit. So, sasabihin mo dun sa kina-counseling mo, o sige, alas 5 na, umuwi ka na, tapos na yung session natin. Hindi ako pwedeng mag-extend kasi yung trabaho na bayad sa akin hanggang 5 lang. So are you going to do that to your client? Na halimbawa umiiyak na siya 'no, nandun na siya sa kanyang emotions tapos ang sabi mo, "Sorry 5 o'clock na, it's time to go. Sige mag-pause ka muna, bukas naman." So, that is not really, helping our client to really vent out to us kasi pakiramdam niya na parang, may time limit pala ang ating counseling session, 'no? Parang hindi siya makakatulong sa pag-help or parang baka the more that we want to help, baka mas lalo tayong, mas lalong mahihirapan yung client natin. So, halimbawa 'pag teacher ka, tapos ang estudyante mo is non-reader, tapos sasabihin mo na, ipapasa ko na lang 'to kasi para hindi ko na 'to magiging problema next year. Bahala na ito ang next advisor niya naman. So, yung very impatient ka 'no, to deal with these types of difficulties. So maybe those are the areas that you have to work on para ma-improve mo yung iyong professional growth at mas makatulong ka pa at mas maging efficient ka pa sa iyong trabaho. So areas of improvement not only allow us to attain personal growth, but also make us efficient in the job that you are working for or that we are working on. Kung halimbawa estudyante ka, you are making yourself more marketable to hiring managers when you apply for a job. Kasi kapag halimbawa, you apply for a position in the government, tapos ang nakalagay doon sa skills mo, isa or dalawa, syempre maabantehan ka ng mga may skills na 10 or may skills na kahit 5. Kasi mapaprioritize ng hiring manager yung may mga madaming skills at may mas madaming uh, mas enthusiastic to learn and to develop himself or herself pagdating sa kanyang personal and professional growth. Kaya, alam niyo po, pagdating sa pag-scan ng mga mga personal development sheets, yung mga PDFs na submitted sa amin, doon sa mga bagong graduate, uh, pag nakakakita lang, halimbawa, makita ko na dalawa yung kanyang trainings attended. Siyempre mapa-prioritize ko personally yung mga nandun na medyo madaming trainings attended na related doon sa kanyang position na ina-applyan. So the possibility of you proceeding with the other parts or the succeeding process of recruitment is already very thin or very slim. Kaya I highly encourage students here to really invest on yourself. Invest on the learnings. Kapag may nakikita kayo free webinars on this particular topic that tingin ninyo makakatulong, go for it. Invest on it. Kasi makukuha ninyo yung supli niyan or you will reap the harvest of that kapag nag-a-apply na kayo or kapag pinapakita nyo na yung inyong mga certifications. Kaya din the reason why, kung mapapansin ninyo, kumbaga minimal lang yung fee na china-charge ko for the webinar sessions because I want the sessions to be highly, kumbaga, parang mas wide yung ma-reach niya, especially sa mga students who would want to invest on their selves. Kasi alam natin na ang mga trainings na ina-avail natin minsan medyo may kamahalan, medyo talagang hindi kaya ng budget since ako nung estudyante ako, nafe-feel ko rin yan. Kaya in a way, since we are advocating for mental health and this type of platform is highly accessible to everyone, I chose to make the fee very reasonable for the students, for the client, and for me as well. Para uh, both of us will have, kumbaga parang, may learning kang makuha and ma-invest mo sa sarili mo at the same time, napupursue ko din yung aking advocate on mental health. And mapupursue ko din yung advocate ko on reaching out with students and also psych majors na to pursue this profession as well. Kasi very fulfilling siya. Okay? Yun. So, it's like investing on, halimbawa, kung bibili ka ng milk tea, so pagbayad mo na lang sa webinar session na 50 pesos, diba? So, parang mag-diet ka na muna sa frap or sa pag-inuha ng, ng milk tea. So, instead of that, you exchange it for a certificate that you can attach pagdating na, pag na-assess ng hiring manager, no, ang dami mo palang sessions. Kasi pag fresh graduate kasi, usually, the defense is that, kasi wala pa po akong experience, kasi fresh grad lang po ako. Mind you, hindi natin minamalit ang mga fresh graduates. Actually, they are the, kumbaga parang, the fresh mindset. Sila yung may mga mindset na talagang very idealistic na gusto natin in the workplace. Kaya gusto natin na yung mga skills nila ay talagang na-master na rin or na-hone na rin na pag sumabak sila sa workplace setting, ay hindi sila mabibigla or hindi sila matatakot kasi equipped sila with the skills na kailangan nila talagang i-apply. Kasi if you have those skills na hindi mo ma-apply, sayang yung learnings na makukuha natin. That's why kapag may nakikita kayo sa mga groups na nagpo-post ng mga ganitong sessions, please make yourself available and please make yourself invest on that. Kasi makukuha mo yung mga investment mo na yan in the future kapag gusto mo mag-apply into a stable job. And then, if you are invited to volunteer, for example, kailangan natin ng volunteer tutor, volunteer teacher, volunteer counselor, or speaking engagements for pro bono, make use of it kasi kahit naman hindi siya masusuklian in a material sense, yung learnings mo doon, yung mga experiences mo doon, hindi yan malalapatan ng kumbaga parang any amount, no? Kaya kapag may volunteer work, volunteer ka lang ng volunteer kasi yung experience yan yung mas makakapag-gain sa'yo ng confident at yan yung matututunan mo na hindi mo ma-acquire sa four walls of your classroom. Kaya kapag volunteer work, outreach programs sa mga malalayong far-flung areas with the communities, grabe kasi diyan ka matututo, diyan mo makikita yung mga theories na ma-apply mo in the reality, in the realistic setting. Kaya napaka-fulfilling kapag may mga ganyang opportunities. That's why you have to grab it and take part of it. And when you do, make the most out of it. Na makikita mo na hindi lang sila nagbe-benefit sa iyo, at the same time, ikaw sa sarili mo, mas nagbe-benefit ka doon sa learnings na na-acquire mo. Okay? So next, ito yung pinaka-helpful din sa career guidance. So, during the time when I took part of a career guidance counseling, nakita ko na yung mga bata, they are very, kumbaga susceptible sa kung ano yung tingin na trend. Halimbawa, last year, I was part of career guidance counseling sessions. Tapos, when I assessed the participants, most of them, they would want to become policemen. Policemen because karamihan daw sa batch nila gusto nang magpulis. I asked, yun ba talaga yung passion? Yun ba talaga yung hilig? Yun ba talaga yung parang gusto? Kasi dito kasi po sa province, parang ang mga careers dito na pinipili ng mga parents para sa kanilang mga anak, kung hindi mag-police, mag-teacher, which are both, of course, noble professions. But I mean, kung ang bata, yun ba talaga ang gusto niya? Kasi kung halimbawa nag-acquire siya no, ng eligibility ng given by NAPOLCO, yung eligibility na yun, hindi niya magagamit in other professions. Hindi niya magagamit yun kung if he would want to apply to become an instructor, to become an instructor in college, to become a teacher, hindi niya magagamit yung ganong klase eligibility. So he has to take other courses and then master those courses and take certifications on that courses para kung gusto niya mag-shift into other courses. Kaya ang advice ko, based doon sa mga discussions na nagawa namin and sa sessions na I advise them to really look into your own personality. Assess what type of personality that you have. Kasi hindi masama ang maging police, hindi masama ang maging teacher. Napaka-noble professions yan. Kaya lang, kung ba talaga yung gusto mo? Doon ka ba tingin mo magiging productive? Doon ka ba tingin mo magiging masaya? Kasi kung takot ka pala sa hindi ka naman pala aggressive or takot ka sa mga encounters or takot ka sa mga mag-duty ng gabi or may mga ganyan ka mga considerations, baka hindi yan ang profession na para sa'yo. Also, I have noticed that most of the graduates nowadays are very, ang mga in-apply na positions are very far from those that they have finished. Halimbawa, nagtapos sila ng forestry. Nag-apply sila as admin assistant or human resource management officer. So, di pa po, uh, good morning po, Sir Michael. So, welcome po to our session today. So, thank you so much, sir, for being with us. So going back, so medyo malayo. Meron din na ang kanyang baccalaureate degree ay on agricultural engineering. And then he or she is applying for administrative aid. So, di ba medyo malayo talaga yung kanyang baccalaureate degree. So, if you would like to gain expertise on certain positions or to acquire certain positions, example in the government, because lahat naman tayo, we seek for stability as early as now for our students and for our for our participants here that are in the field of career guidance, let us guide our students and let us guide these children to be in a career path or to project themselves that as if they are already in that particular career path 10 years from now. So that as early as now, they already plan for their future. They are already planning on what course to take, on what skills to master, so that when that time comes, they are already equipped with the degree and with the skills appropriate to the job they would want to be in the future. For example, you'd like to become a nurse. So as early as now, you really have to train yourself to master those skills that a nurse should possess. Or you'd like to be a teacher. So as early as now, you really have to master the skills of being empathic, of being patient, um, of being very knowledgeable kung ano yung type of subject that you'd like to master. So yung mga ganoon, at that as early as now, you have to really know what you want. Kasi kung halimbawa, nag-take ka ng bachelor's degree in forestry, sayang ng 4-year course mo kung ang gusto mo pala is to be with or to be in office works, admin works. Ayaw mo naman pala sa field. Ayaw mo palang mamundok. So, sayang ng 4 years na pinaglaanan mo ng panahon that the time comes na hindi naman pala talaga yun yung gusto mo gawin in life. For example, you took the course in BS Fisheries and then you ended up in the bank. Gusto mo palang maging teller. So, napakalayo ng iyong baccalaureate degree. So, as early as now, you have to identify what do you want. So, that will guide you in the career path that you take in the future. So, very important po na kaya yung may mga guidance counselors tayo dito, teachers tayo dito, you are very important and your role is very significant to the lives of these children because you are the ones who are going to guide them, to really inculcate in them what are they really passionate about. Ano talaga yung mga skills na gugustuhin nila na ma-develop para maging effective sila and efficient and they will be able to acquire a stable job in the future. Kasi meron mga courses like for example, garments trading that they want to apply for clerkship. So medyo malayo. Hindi natin ma-bridge yung gap kasi yung experiences niya and the training that that individual had is related to garments trading. Wala sa clerkship. So medyo malayo yung tatrabahuin. Because para sa akin, ah if we, in the human resource, if we hire hard, meaning we look into the qualifications, the baccalaureate degree, the trainings attended, the skills, we look at them intently, and we really hire those that really deserve the position, then we are going to manage them easily. Yung learning and development sa kanila, hindi na gano'n ka-tedious, hindi na gano'n ka, kumbaga parang hindi na gano'n ka expensive para sa company. Kasi if we hire based on lahat ng nag-take ng test and then we assess them upon their entry in the company, para sa akin, mas lalong malaki or mas magiging expensive yun sa isang company to invest on training and development para ma-improve yung skills ng employees when you can already assess that at the onset of the hiring process, especially in the selection. That's why if you hire those who are really deserving and those who possess those skills and hone them as they become part of your organization, at the same time, you are also, kumbaga, saving the expenses for your company na hindi sila magsispend ng thousands and ng millions para ma-improve ang skills ng kanilang mga empleyado. And if you are in the government, you can align that or you can save that and align that to other expenses of your organization or your agency. Hindi na siya magiging additional cost at hindi na siya magiging additional burden para sa inyong agency because you already managed your employees and you already hired those that are very deserving. Kasi sa hiring process when it comes to predictive validity, very costly yan sa management. Because you are going to hire based on sa halimbawa, nag-test ka ng 10 applicants. Lahat ng applicants na tinest mo, i-hire mo sila. And you are going to predict their performances upon your evaluation. Kumbaga parang on the first 6 months, you are going to assess them based on their evaluation. Para sa akin, napaka-tedious job ang mag-assess ng performance ng isang tao. And that requires the company expenses in terms of the tools that they are going to use, in terms of the expertise that they are going to apply, and the time na gagamitin nila sa pag-assess, sa pag-manage ng performance na pwede na sanang nagawa yun or naalat yun sa iba pang mga makabuluhan na goal ng isang company or ng isang organization. Because performance evaluation is very tedious. Kumbaga sa atin sa government, katumbas yan ng ating kung na-reach natin yung ating strategic priorities, katumbas yan ng ating PBB. Kaya kapag halimbawa, hindi mo na-attain yun dahil may mga certain areas ka or certain key performance indicators in your strategic priorities that you were not able to reach, sayang yun. Sayang yung taon na pinaglaanan mo, pinaghirapan mo, and then at the end of the evaluation, hindi mo pala na-attain because of certain difficulties or hindrances or obstacles in terms of employee management. So that is very frustrating. Para sa akin, as an HR, very frustrating yun. Kaya I really believe in hiring intently and in hiring the applicants really hard. Yung parang mahirap na hiring process, para sa akin, mas effective yun kasi mas madali yung learning and development and performance management. And also as well as career guidance. Okay? So, next is yung relationship growth. Companies nowadays may nakita ako kanina on emotional quotient. Looks into emotional quotients and looks into emotional resilience of the employees, because this will determine or this will dictate the level or the retention of that employee to the organization. Because kahit gaano siya kagaling, gaano siya katalino, kung hindi siya marunong sa interpersonal dynamics and interpersonal relationships, and lagi siyang may nakakaaway sa office, and lagi siyang may file for employee dispute, naku, hindi yan magiging successful or hindi yan magiging effective in the long run. Especially that human resource or employee disputes is also one of the facets of human resource. Kung halimbawa, pagdating mo sa opisina, lagi kang may nakakaaway, wala kang nakakasundo sa mga kaopisina mo kahit gaano ka kagaling, that will impede the success of the organization. Like for example, meron kaming isang case na itong employee is really very is shutting out everyone. Parang he's building a large wall, a very tall wall for everyone, na hindi mo siya pwedeng kausapin, hindi mo siya pwedeng lapitan, and hindi mo siya pwedeng galawin sa kung saan lang siya komportable. So kung may movement kayo sa loob ng unit ninyo, lahat kayo gumalaw, puwera lang siya. Kasi hindi niya kayang mag-cope sa change, hindi niya kayang mag-adapt sa change. So do you think that is contributing to your relationship goals? Of course, it will not. It does not. Kaya, if you want to hire someone, you have to also look into the emotional resilience and stability of that person. Kasi baka nga naman, lalo na kapag ang kanyang area or ang kanyang work will focus in human relationship or in interpersonal relationship, napakahirap ng isang tao hindi marunong makisama at hindi marunong makibagay sa kanyang mga kasama, because that will affect the harmonious relationship. Kaya di po ba in the big 5 personality traits, ang talagang umaangat or ang talagang tumatagal ay yung mataas ang kanilang agreeableness. Agreeableness does not mean that you are a pushover, that you are a yes person, but agreeableness in a sense that you agree to the common good, but you assert if you think that that is not helping everyone. You assert in a way that is constructive to your team, but you may also want to agree kapag tingin mo para sa kabutihan ng lahat and hindi lang ma-serve yung yung self-interest mo bilang isang tao. Yung hindi lang ikaw yung makikinabang, pero lahat kayo ay magiging beneficial to everybody. Hindi lang para sa'yo. Kaya, di ba, doon sa personality traits, ang mataas is extroversion and agreeableness, because people relationship is something that you have to invest on when you want to succeed in whatever occupations that you may want in life. Unless na lang kung gusto mo lang talaga ay nakaharap ka lang sa computer 8 hours of your day, or kung gusto mo lang talaga ay isang remote worker ka, virtual assistant, hindi mo kailangan ng interpersonal relationship, and that's okay. But if you'd like to become part of an organization and make a meaningful contribution, then you really have to invest on relationship growth. And you really have to assess interpersonally, and you have to assess personally, what is it in your trait that hinders you from doing so? And what is it in your personality traits that you have to invest on for you to improve building a relationship with other people? So yan ang kailangan mo magawa, or kailangan mong at least maging aware ka, your relationship growth, because interpersonal dynamics is really, really important. Because in the assessment, in the metrics that we use, hindi ka lang tumitingin sa education, hindi ka lang tumitingin sa experience, hindi ka lang tumitingin sa training, hindi ka lang tumitingin sa work experience, but also tinitingnan mo rin yung psychological factors in the potential of that employee. That is also 20% of the 100% metrics that we use in the assessment of the individual if he or she is able to be hired. Tinitingnan rin dyan yung potential ng isang tao, kung kaya niya bang matrain. Is he trainable? Open ba siya sa change? Open ba siya sa mga pagbabago? Or talagang nagsha-shut off siya at tingin niya, kung saan lang siya komportable, doon lang ako, walang pwedeng gumalaw sa akin. So that is also the things that you would like to, that you should invest on. Your personal relationship and your relationship goals. Okay? Stress management also is very important in terms of its impact on our personal development. That has something to do with our personal or relationship growth. Because if we are able to manage stress well or emotional challenging situations, then we know na kahit saan man tayo ilagay, saan man tayo ma-expose na emotionally challenging situations, ay kaya nating maging calm and composed. Remember that stress is perceived by the level of stress brought about by a certain stressor is perceived by the individual who experiences the stress. So if you are good, you are excellent in perception or perceiving that stress is just, kumbaga parang part of the normalcy in your life and you are not readily affected by it, then you can remain calm and composed in emotionally challenging situations. But kung tingin mo ang stress ay napaka-debilitating, very, kumbaga parang pag nasa-stress ka, parang nawawala ka sa sarili, you are becoming emotionally aggressive, physically aggressive, verbally aggressive. So maybe that's the time you really have to work on your personal development and you assess which of those you have to work on. Saan ba sa personal traits mo, personality traits mo ang kailangan mong ayusin para hindi ka maging aggressive kapag nasistress ka? So yan ang pinaka-helpful pagdating sa personality assessment in handling and managing our negative emotions when we are in emotional challenging situations. Remember that situations in our daily life is highly emotional stimulating. No, hindi man natin ginusto pero halimbawa naglalakad ka tapos ah, nasagi ka ng may nakasagi sa'yo, nahulog yung mga gamit mo. So since you are verbally aggressive, minura mo na agad yung nakasagi sa'yo. So nasira na yung araw mo. So if you are like that, then maybe there is something in your personality trait that you have to improve on. You have to manage and you have to improve and work on para mas maging effective ka bilang isang tao. Okay? What else? It is also important in setting your goals and in creating your roadmaps in life. So, ang ating organizations, we have our own roadmaps. Of course, ourselves, sa sarili natin, meron rin tayong kanya-kanya nating roadmaps. Hindi pwede na yung organization lang natin ang may roadmap. Tayo din dapat nagkakaroon ng roadmap, ng goal setting kung saan tayo papunta. Because personality assessment is the basis, is the strong foundation for setting a solid roadmap for ourselves. Kasi kung hindi natin kilala yung sarili natin, kumbaga parang madali tayong masway. Halimbawa, yung kaibigan mo nag-masters in guidance and counseling. Sabi mo, ay sige, parang gusto ko rin mag-masters din ako in guidance counseling kahit hindi mo naman nakikita yung sarili mo as a future guidance counselor. Or halimbawa yung friend mo ay nag-doctorate siya on educational management, magdo-doctorate rin ako on educational management para magkaklase kami. Although hindi mo naman nakikita yung sarili mo in the future that you become a principal or you'll become someone as a head of in the Department of Education. So hindi mo pass ang DepEd. So bakit ka mag-educational management? Kasi kitinik ng friend mo, ganun na rin ako. So, setting a solid roadmap for yourself will also yield a strong foundation basing on your personality assessment. Kung ano yung tingin mo, ano yung para sa sarili mo, kung ano yung saan ka magaling, doon ka dapat maka-align. Doon mo dapat iset yung iyong path, whether sa career or sa personal and professional growth mo. That's why setting a solid roadmap ay magiging basis mo yung inyong personality assessment. Okay? So, and then, it is also based on your self-realization. Ano ba yun sa sarili mo yung mga bagay na tingin mo ay fulfilled ka na ginagawa mo? Fulfilled ka ba kapag may natapos kang trabaho at the end of the day dahil mahal mo yung trabaho mo? Or pagod na ka na pero hindi mo nakikita yung fulfillment because hindi mo nakikita yung purpose mo dun sa trabaho mo na yun? Example, you are a librarian and you think that although this is a very stable job, pero hindi ito para sa'yo kasi gusto mong magturo. Kaya at the end of the day, feeling mo parang drained na drained ka kahit na wala naman masyadong concerns, wala naman masyadong problema. Pero pakiramdam mo, pagod ka and at the following day, you feel like you're dragging yourself to work kasi ayaw mo nang pumasok because you do not see your purpose in the work that you do. So that's why it's important that in every work that you do, in every work that we do, we feel fulfilled, we feel gratified, and we feel that hindi lang monetary purpose kung bakit tayo nagtatrabaho. It is also because it is the realization of the sense and the authenticity and the purpose why we are in our jobs, why we are in the field of training and development, why we are in the field of human resource, why are we in the field of social work, or why we are in the field of teaching. Is it because ba we want a stable job? Yun lang ba yung magiging reason natin? Wala ba, halimbawa, mas malalim na pinanghugutan dahil kapag may estudyanteng nakakabasa or kapag may nanay na nagpasalamat sa'yo dahil ang anak niya ay finally nakatapos, yan ba ay nakakabigay sa'yo ng sense of purpose? Or pakiramdam mo, okay lang kasi trabaho ko naman talaga yan. Pero kapag yan ay nakakabigay sa'yo ng sense of purpose and authenticity, then that is the self-realization that is not quantified by the amount of salary that you receive as a teacher. Halimbawa, sa akin, when I shifted career, tingin ko, parang hindi ko kakayanin kasi hindi ko naman kumbaga parang in all those years that I spent in the field of social work, parang pakiramdam ko kapag nag-shift ako nag-transition ako from this field to another field, pakiramdam ko parang hindi ako magiging efficient. And then I realized that I will find a sense of purpose because I love what I'm doing. And this is really what I am passionate about. You know, in the field of being a graduate of psychology and in the field of mental health or in this type of profession, hindi siya fulfilling in terms of monetary exchange. Kasi maliit lang naman ang sahod kung tutuusin. Pero kapag may nakikita kang mga taong nababago yung buhay slowly because of the things that you uh, help, because of the principles that you inculcate in them, the things that you um, go for them, with them, parang yun yung sense of fulfillment na nakukuha mo na that is also propelling you to really achieve more. Kasi nakikita mo yung mga buhay na nagbago, although hindi naman extreme yung changes, pero little by little, step by step, nakikita mo may mga changes. And that is something that is fulfilling. And that's something that gives me the sense of purpose. And that is, I know most of us, yan din yung ating driving force. Na nakikita natin na kahit maliit na bagay, maliit na achievement, at least may nakikita tayong achievement and accomplishments na nagkakabigay sa atin ng sense of purpose and realization na meron tayong nagagawang maganda at mabuti sa ating mga buhay dahil sa ating mga trabaho. So that is our self-realization. And we will not attain a sound self-realization if we do not have a sound personality assessment. Kung hindi natin alam sa sarili natin, yung personality traits natin, hindi tayo magkakaroon ng sound self-realization. Baka siguro shallow self-realization, pero yung authentic talaga, ma-attain natin yun kapag meron tayong sound personality assessment. Okay? And to give you an example of what I mean with personality assessment, I will show you an example of a result. Example, person A took the test on the 16 personality factor test. And the result is this. Okay? Ito ang halimbawa ang result ni person A. Kung mapapansin ninyo, karamihan ng sagot ni person A ay nasa average scale. Di po ba? Ang average scale, napakahirap yan sa isang, I'm sure you can relate to me, napakahirap yan i-assess. Kasi it's neither nor, it's either or. Usually yung mga ganyang sagot. Wala sa definite na example or definite na meaning. Lagi siyang nasa gitna. Hindi siya definitive in nature. Kaya ang hirap niyan. Kumbaga parang halimbawa, dyan sa level of warm, kung ang score mo ay average, may mga pagkakataon na ikaw ay reserved, impersonal or distant. Given lang dito sa example ko natin ha, pero may mga pagkakataon naman na ikaw ay outgoing. Ikaw ay you'd like to listen to others' emotions and sharings of feelings. Pero, nasa, ano lang yan, kumbaga parang, hindi siya definite. No? Kaya, ang mga ganitong klaseng result, para sa isang professional, halimbawa sa isang psychometrician, I'm sure makaka-relate din po tayo dito, kahit nasa professional tayo, ang hirap yan ma-assess. So, hindi tayo makakakuha ng isang sound personality assessment if all our answers are on the average scores. Kaya I always advise our examinees to really put or answer immediately kung ano yung pumasok sa isip mo. Kasi wala naman right or wrong answers dyan. It is just your personality we're trying to assess. And there is no right or wrong personality. It is, kumbaga dahil lang siguro minsan ginagamit natin itong mga test na ito in the occupational setting, kaya talagang may tendency ang ating mga examinees to really have a high social desirable answers or answers that are socially desirable. Kaya hindi rin naman natin talaga yun maiiwasan. Pero for the sake of personal development, mas maganda if we answer this honestly. Kasi yan yung makakabigay sa atin ng sound judgment and assessment based on the answers here in the test. Okay, so this test is the 16 personality factor test that I'm sure many of you or most of you probably have heard of, right? So ang 16 personality test na ito, the factors that are present here are summarized into 5 global factors that is somehow similar to the ocean or the big 5 personality traits. Kasi di ba, extroversion, conscientiousness. Conscientiousness is our capability to do what is wrong or right. Or our level of integrity, our level of conscientiousness, nandyan yan sa self-control, mini-measure. Independence is also our level of agreeableness. Okay? Top-mindedness is our level of openness to change. Or our level of being, thinking towards or thinking or solving or seeing a situation is in an abstracted manner or in a realistic manner. Depende sa kung ano sa tingin mo ang appropriate na konsepto pwedeng apply doon sa particular situation na yon. Realistic ba or abstract? That is in the top-minded side or in the openness naman sa ocean, in the big 5 personality traits. Pwede rin naman na anxiety naman is the level of neuroticism in terms of handling situations, problems, highly stimulating or highly emotional stimulating situations. Diyan naman minimeasure ang anxiety or the level of your neuroticism. So diyan na natin nakikita the 16 PF or the 16 personality factor somewhat similar to the big five personality traits. So if example, you'd like to have a personal development session, the 16 personality factor test is already very highly applicable. Why? Because your low scores here, for example, in dominance, example, you scored 3, titingnan natin what are the situations that are somehow, kumbaga parang triggers you to avoid conflict. Ano ba yung conflict, ano ba yung present sa conflict na para sa'yo ay hindi mo kayang i-handle or hindi mo kayang ma-manage? Ano yung sa tingin mo na ayaw mo i-assert? Ano yung reason mo bakit ayaw mong maging assertive? Kahit pwede naman. Especially in the workplace, di ba? Halimbawa, sasabihin ng boss mo na, oh, Laura, gawin mo to. Tapusin mo yan. Kailangan ko yan hanggang mamayang hapon. If you are as someone who is low in dominance and is always saying yes, ano yung sa mga conflict situations that you are afraid of? Halimbawa, oo ka ng oo dahil ayaw mong mag-assert ng kung ano sa tingin mo. Halimbawa, sasabihin ko, sir, hindi ko na po talaga siguro matatapos yan ngayon kasi meron pa akong ganitong ginagawa. Or, pwede ko pong gawin yan, pero masasacrifice ko po yung iba kong trabaho. Okay lang po ba yun sa'yo? I-prioritize ko ito, pero yung ibang task ko, mati-delay. So that is being assertive. Hindi ka nagiging insubordinate, but you are asserting yourself na madami kang kailangan tapusin. Pero kung gusto niyang tapusin mo ito, you can also do that. Pero mayroon kang mga deliverables na masasacrifice. So here, in the personal assessment, in the personality assessment, titingnan natin what is in the dominant or what is in the conflict that you are avoidant of to attain personal development. Kasi baka lang naman, intimidated ka lang, or baka lang naman, may mga fear ka na kailangan lang natin i-process na not necessarily debilitating on your part as a person or as a employee or as a worker. Example naman, medyo mataas or high ang score mo sa vigilance. So, bakit ba very suspicious ka? In a way that you are very skeptical. Yung pakiramdam mo na, there is always or an individual always has an ulterior motive towards you. Kahit na parang wala naman siyang gustong ibang gawin or wala naman siyang maling gustong gawin, parang ikaw lagi mong iniisip na, teka lang, baka parang may gusto siyang gawin na hindi maganda. Okay? So, dito naman, titignan natin, ipaprocess natin what are the circumstances in your life that have led you to become very vigilant and suspicious with everyone in your surroundings. We can process that in the personal development. Kasi ang personality assessment, kung mag-remain lang siya as an assessment without the personal development, without the processing, without the feedbacking, sayang yung result na yun. Sayang yung makikita natin ganitong klaseng result na hindi natin mafi-feedback doon sa client. And mafi-feedback natin through a narrative report. Okay, another example. In the tension, if you are an extremely low scorer in the tension side, maybe you are too relaxed, too placid, too complacent. You are not highly motivated anymore. Parang, okay na ako dito, masaya na ako dito, hindi naman mataas yung sahod ko, hindi naman masyadong mababa yung sahod ko, kaya okay na ako dito sa ganitong trabaho, okay na ako dito sa ganitong klaseng position. Don't you know, sometimes that being too relaxed, being too placid, being too, very complacent, that leads to us being very demotivated. And hindi yan yung nakaka-contribute na baka hindi na tayo aware na hindi na tayo pala very slow na tayo mag-respond. Yung, may kailangan pala akong tapusin. Pero sige, mamaya na yan. Dito na muna ako, manunood muna ako ng iba na munang gagawin ko kasi kayang-kaya ko naman yan gawin eh. Kasi 10 years na ako sa trabaho ko, kahit nakapikit ako, kaya ko nang gawin yan. So maybe you are already too complacent that you no longer seek for improvement. Dahil alam mo na okay na ako dito, kontento na ako dito. So, there are also pros and cons. And in the personal development, we will look into the pros, of course. Titingnan natin, ano pa yung mga bagay na pwede mong gawin? Ano pa yung mga bagay na makakamotivate sa'yo na hindi ka lang maging contented at hindi ka maging too complacent to where you are right now. Yan yung napakagandang contribution na maibibigay sa atin ng personal assessment. Yung personality assessment, makikita niya doon, ay, oo nga, no? Ito pala yung reason ko bakit parang masaya na ako. Hindi na ako nag-aspire ng greater things. Yan yung magbibigay sa atin na personal development naman. Aspirations for the higher things, aspirations for the things that we are fearful of before kasi tingin natin hindi natin kaya. But because we opened ourselves to the possibility that we can, then we have developed personally. And it's not too late for us to develop personally because lahat naman tayo may kakayahang baguhin kung ano yung mga bagay na ayaw natin at tingin natin contented na tayo na ginagawa kasi very complacent and very too ano na tayo, kumbaga parang very placid na tayo na sa ganitong bagay kaya na natin or komportable na tayo. Okay? We are very slow to respond at times because we are very too complacent. Okay? So yan yung the 16 PF is summarized. So kung makikita natin, the score of person A is really on the average. Kumbaga parang kung magbibigay ka ng personality assessment, kung magbibigay ka ng narration or narrative report, wala masyadong striking. Wala masyadong kakaiba sa personality ng taong ito dahil nasa average mostly ang kanyang scores or lahat ng scores niya sa global factors. So on my part, if I will give an assessment or if I will draft a narrative report for this person, wala masyadong striking sa kanyang personality. And somehow, average is really, hindi rin siya magiging maganda kasi parang we are depriving ourselves to explore what is really in our hearts and our minds. Kasi parang lagi tayong nasa safe side. Parang takot tayo magkaroon ng conflict within ourselves. Kumbaga sa theory ni Carl Jung, individuation happens when there is conflict with the self. So when there's conflict with the self, that is the time that you realize or you maximize your potentials that you have not realized before because you were too complacent and you were too contented with what you are. Na hindi mo challenge yung sarili mo and you did not reach the level of conflict kaya hindi mo na-seize or na-maximize ang iyong potential. So that is what personality assessment can give you. You have to maximize your potential. You have to at least unleash your potential so you may discover the personalities that you have through personality development or personal development. Okay? Now I'll show you an example of the narrative report. Example, based on the result, this is the sample narrative report for person A. So kung makikita natin, extroversion, the global factor extroversion, the contributory or the primary factors that contributes to the score of extroversion is warmth, liveliness, social boldness, privateness, and self-reliance. So itong mga scores mo na ito, ay makaka-contribute yan sa overall score mo sa extroversion. So kung halimbawa, most of your scores here in this criteria are on the average, of course your score on the extroversion are also on the average. Okay? So, may mga tendencies ka, pero are not really striking. Your tendencies are not really striking. Kung ako ang magsuscore nito sa potential mo, if you are an applicant, I will score you as 2 or 3. Kasi, hindi siya, kumbaga, in the impression management, nandun ka sa medyo mataas yung percentage of impression management because all your scores are pertaining to your or the results are all desirable, socially desirable traits. Okay? So, hindi siya masyado, parang hindi ka masyado, kung ako ang mag-i-interpret, parang, okay. Hindi masyado, walang ganun factor. Okay? Next is independence. So, dominance, social boldness, vigilance, and openness to change are the primary factors naman that are contributory to the independence, um, global factor trait. Okay? Yun. So, meaning, medyo average din ang kanyang score sa mga contributory or the primary scores of the global primary score in the independence trait. Okay? Ayan. So, tough-mindedness, ang primary factors are warmth, sensitivity, abstractedness, and openness to change. So, as you can see, makikita natin yung correlation between and among the personality traits or the primary factor traits that contributes to the global factor traits. Which means that ang warmth can cut across all or can cut across many global factor traits. Kasi kapag tough-minded ka, pwede ka rin, or kapag warm, mataas ang level ng warmth mo, meaning you are an outgoing individual, that is also something to do with how you perceive and how you make decisions and how you react to certain situations in your surroundings. So lahat yan may kinalaman sa bawat isa. That's why that the factor traits there are correlational with one another. Okay? So that is the example, narrative report. Based lang doon sa, example lang din ito ng personality trait ni person A. Okay? Ayan. Self-control. If the individual, or ang client, is applying for an accounting position or an accountant position, and halimbawa, mababa yung score niya sa pagiging rule conscious, meaning, he or she can tolerate chaos. He or she can tolerate not following rules and guidelines. So, meaning, hindi siya incognizant or hindi siya adherent doon sa position na ina-applyan niya. So, maybe, this individual is not suited for that particular position, but maybe is suited to other positions alike doon sa kanyang personality traits. Kaya napakaganda na maintindihan at magamit ang personality assessment sa occupational impact and sa personal development. Kaya very useful ito sa industrial organizational setting and sa personal development coaching, kasi dito magiging concrete and magiging data-driven ang iyong assessment and development doon sa client or sa individual na gustong mag-avail ng iyong personal development session, because this is really based on the test that you have administered and the result that have been gathered upon the client who took the test. Okay? And anxiety is the level of emotional stability, vigilance, apprehension, and level of tension the individual is experiencing. Okay? So basically, ito yung level of neuroticism in the big 5 personality factor traits. Kaya ito ang 16 personality factor trait ay talagang gamit na gamit rin ito sa occupational setting. Okay? So, example, given that person A has these following personality traits, he or she is suitable to occupations that is requiring a combination of reasoning, rule-conscious, social boldness trait. Example, project management, no, accounting positions or accountant positions, clerkship positions, auditor positions. That is, kapag internal auditor ka, you are very strict and adherent to all the laws, rules, and policies na naandyan sa loob ng organization. So kung ang result niya is that person is strictly adherent to rules and policies, that person is really aligned to internal auditor jobs. Kasi talaga ang auditor, adherent yan sa mga policies ng kanilang organization. Okay? So, basically, yan yung impact niyan pagdating sa kung gagamitin natin yan sa industrial and organizational setting. Okay? So, moving forward, halimbawa, we have already made use of that report or the use of that, the result of the 16 personality factor test, we now apply that in personal development. So, paano naman natin gagawin yan? So, yan ay bagay na bagay or yan ay swak na swak doon sa coaching and counseling. Self-discovery number 1 and goal setting. Because again, if you have a sound personality assessment and that will really contribute to your goal setting and your road mapping and your discovery of yourself, your introspection. Kaya napakaganda gamitin ang personality assessment sa personal development. Most especially if you acquire for the services of a personal development coach, because that person will really align your scores, your strengths, and your weaknesses to the current situation of your life right now. May it be professional, may it be personal, but that would be a concrete basis of your alignment to where you are or where you are supposed to be in your life right now. Kaya napakagandang basis ang personality assessment in the personal development of an individual. Okay? Next is leadership development. It helps the person understand what type of leadership he or she has in identifying the areas for improvement. Okay? So, okay, Sir Danish has requested us to fill out the attendance for today's webinar. So also we can match this with the issuance of the certification by the time that we finalize all the attendances here present right now in the webinar. So please, as you listen, you also would want to fill out the attendance sheet. Baka makalimutan niyo lang po. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's go back. If you'd like to improve on your career, you also discover what type of leadership style. Siyempre, lahat naman tayo, we would like to become a leader or we'd like to become a supervisor. So ano ba yung mga personality traits natin na kailangan natin ma-develop kung gusto natin maging manager, kung gusto natin maging supervisor, kung gusto natin maging head ng ating agency, ano yung mga kailangan nating gawin? Ano yung kailangan nating ma-develop ng mga characteristics and personality traits? So matutulungan tayo nito ng ating personality assessment and personal development. Okay? And of course, educational settings. This highly supports students in the development of their career and their planning for their career. Kasi I advise you, our dear students, that as early as now, you have to really plan out a career and a concrete career path for you para hindi kayo mahirapan in your application process. Pagdating ng araw na mag-apply na kayo, hindi kayo mahihirapan or hindi kayo malalagay doon sa trabaho na ayaw nyo. Pero wala kayong choice kasi kailangan ninyo kumita ng pera, kailangan ninyo magkaroon ng sahod. Ayaw natin na ang motivation natin is just but monetary compensation. It is, kumbaga parang secondary na lang to the fulfillment that we have once we are already doing our job. Kasi para maging fulfilled tayo, mas maging more, kumbaga parang, ang approach natin sa trabaho natin is we are passionate with our job. And we want that job because that is what we really plan for. And that is what we are really aiming towards for. Kaya, my dear students, our dear students, please make a concrete path, a career path as early as now. Okay? And of course, we would want to have an organization that is encouraging the employees for development and that an organization that fosters a harmonious relationship and collaborates through teamwork and efforts. Okay, so organizational development is really very important for the team to really succeed. Kasi kung lahat kayo magagaling lang, wala namang harmonious relationship, mahirap rin para sa isang organization ang mag-succeed. That's why lahat ng empleyado, they are being encouraged to really develop no initiatives, best practices para all together we attain the organizational development that we all aim for. Not only for our professional growth, but that is also for our professional growth. Okay? And of course, before we end our discussion on personality assessment and personal development, I just like to share with you my favorite line in the speech of Theodore Roosevelt in the entitled The Man in the Arena. So it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of the deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marked by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Because remember, my dear students, our dear participants, personality assessment is not determinant of how are we or how we should be in different situations or circumstances that we are in, because we are always going to fall short again and again. We always will commit mistakes again and again. But what is important is that we strive for the best and we put ourselves out there because we are not afraid to commit mistakes, because when we commit mistakes, we do that because we improve ourselves. We strive to improve ourselves. And when we strive to improve ourselves, that is when we really, honestly assess our own personalities. And that's when we achieve or attain the optimum of our personal development. So by that, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being part of this session. Thank you for allowing us to be part of this discussion. And thank you for all your reactions, for all your sharings, and for taking the time to be with us today. And yun. So if you have any questions at this point, you may now ask your questions. You may open your mics and share with me whatever it is that you would like to share, or you have any questions or clarifications regarding the topics that we have discussed. Okay, thank you po. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you po for your reactions. Maraming salamat, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. At this point po ba, do you have any questions or comments or clarifications about the topics that we have discussed? Thank you po, Sir Michael.
Thank you po.
Thank you po. Thank you po, sister. Thank you so much po for being part po of this discussion.
Thank you po.
Thank you po. Maybe you'd like to share anything. Anything that you'd like to share with the group is really welcome. Or you have any clarifications with regard to the topic po that we have discussed?
Yeah, we learn a
Okay.
lot po, and we really benefit, and we continue to share what we have learned, and the best practice is to start it with our very own selves.
Yes, that's
Yes
very
po.
true. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much
po.
for that sharing. It was very, on my part, it's very enlightening and very encouraging. Thank you so much. Thank you po. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope that Um, we see you on the upcoming sessions, but may I, if it's okay for the group, may I request sana po for a group picture? If it's okay for us to turn on our cameras and have a group picture. Oh, thank you so much, Sir Elmer, Sir Chi, Ma'am Omi, Ma'am Anna, Ma'am Kian, Ma'am Rishin, Sir Elmer, Ma'am Maureen, and everyone po na nag-message sa chat box natin. Ma'am Jewel. Ma'am Jewel, thank you so much. It's so good to see you again, Ma'am. Sir Jerusel? Yun. Sir Danish, okay lang ba magpa-take ng ating group picture? Yan. Thank you. Thank you po. Wait, what about Danish? Dude, what is Danish, by the way? Don't worry po, doon sa mga nakapasok na nagsisimula na po tayo, do not worry because we will be sending you a copy of the discussion to those who have registered. We will be sending you a copy of this recording, the presentation that I used. And if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. And I hope to see you on the next sessions that we will be doing. And I hope to see you on, or if you would want to be of personal development assessment, a one-on-one session on personal development assessment, please let me know, and I'm very much willing to entertain your questions or your clarifications with regards to that. Okay? Thank you so much po. If there are no questions na po, or if there are no any clarifications, and Sir Dan, okay na po ba tayo sa group picture? Okay, thank you so much po. Again, maraming salamat po sa ating lahat, and I hope to see you all in the next sessions that we will be doing. And please also suggest sa amin kung ano yung mga sessions or topics na gusto ninyong i-discuss natin in our sessions. Thank you. Thank you so much po, and have a beautiful Sunday with your family. Sunday. Thank you po. Thank you, anak. Thank you so much po, everyone. Bye-bye po. Bye. Ma'am Jamie, thank you.